What's up?
Jimmy Phenomenal Garden Report coming to you.
That's right, baby. Phenomenal.
Almost a full house.
Garden
Josue Pavon, last minute.
Working late. Hey, he's working late.
We worked out Josue right before the game and realized he wasn't good to go.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes. Sherrod Blakely's going to join us as well, so it's close to a full house. Yeah.
There's really no reason to push it in the preseason.
We're load managing in the preseason.
Yeah, exactly. It's a rest game. There's a couple more games to go here. So.
According to the NBA, isn't a thing.
Yeah, John, you had a good tweet. That's exactly what I had thought.
I didn't see the tweet. I'll have to find it.
He goes, "Did Adam Silver write this report?"
It was so ridiculous.
Hey, it could only be that, right?
They didn't cite the research. They just said we did it, and it told us it's not real.
Yeah, it told us that just doesn't matter.
Let me look at it. Yeah, load management's not real. Yeah,
none of these results are.
Oh yeah, they sent Joe Dumars out.
Case closed.
Yeah, just the guy said that none of it added up. So it turns out there's no such thing.
The numbers they did is that it's hurting the bottom line.
Well, they're doing
showing
up.
They're doing a TV deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, preseason game number 3, first chance for Jimmy and I to have our say. Jimmy Toscano was touring the world. And
the U.S.
He's just back. The U.S.
Had a great time. It was good to get away. Reset, get ready for the season. I had to just sort of clear everything out. And now, I'm ready to accept this new Celtics season, and I'm ready to go. I have a clear mind now. So.
And I was legit load managing, but I've caught up. I've done my homework. I've watched all 3 games. And
I went to California and Colorado, John. It was a good time.
That was good. How was Goose?
You would really love Goose.
I've seen him. I told you.
Oh, you've seen him. I didn't know that you saw that.
Yes, I told you. I told you. I was curious your opinion. I think they're great.
So here's the thing. Now I can give you my honest opinion. Unbelievable live band.
Unbelievable.
So if you tell, hey, go listen to Goose, and they go on your Spotify or whatever, that's fine.
It has to be live.
Not even close to what it's like.
No.
Live. And I saw them at Red Rocks, which made it even that much better. So
yeah.
I won't go on.
They're unreal.
They're really good. They had some great covers too. They covered Prince. They covered 4 Non-Blondes, really cool versions.
Are you gonna go to the Sphere, Jimmy?
Oh my God! I was talking to my friends about the Sphere. I cannot wait to go to the Sphere. You know what I want to see at the Sphere? And I know people are gonna have their snide little. I want to see Coldplay at the Sphere. I think that would be unbelievable. Sky full of stars comes raining down on the screen, and listen. I know people are gonna the funny Coldplay comment, but I don't care. Coldplay.
It's a new format this season. We're gonna do our
what?
Let's call it pie talk at the beginning of the show, and then we'll wait for you guys to kind of
pie talk.
Yeah,
we're gonna do pies and pickles at the beginning of the show, and wait for you guys to flood in, and then we'll start talking about the
concert
game
venues. Yeah,
we're catching up for the first time. Jimmy and I haven't really had a chance to talk about the Patriots. We'll get into that too.
Oh, you don't want me to. You don't want me to.
Oh.
You don't want me to go there, John.
Poor Taylor. I was
Pull the clips. Pull the clips from last year. Pull the clips from prior. Pull all the text conversations with my friends. I got receipts.
Oh my God!
I was telling Amit this is not the kind of season Taylor wants to cover.
No, this reminds me of honestly, Bobby. This reminds me of when I was stuck covering the Red Sox. It was like the final nail in the coffin for my sports writing career. It was just.
I want to acknowledge this. I want to acknowledge this one because it's a super chat early, and I don't want it to go away because it's going to be hard to dig up in the chat. We're not going to talk about Kai Jones right here, but that's something.
Circle back to it.
Well, why don't we just all say hell no? And
released
there you
recently
go.
by the Hornets. I'm not super interested, but if we want to get into it later, but I did want to say Bass Rock or Bass Rock, however we want to play this. Thank you very much.
I'm going to say it's Bass
for the
Rock.
donation.
There is some buzz among the chatters, among the commenters about the backup center spot, though. That's definitely one of the things our chat
people
is hottest on.
People are liking Queta right now.
Is it? How do you say his name, Bobby?
Queta.
Okay, what's his first name?
Queta.
Nemeas Queta.
It's Queta, not Queta, but it's spelled Queta. People loving Queta.
It's Giroux.
Queta Kalen. Giroux.
I gotta. Hey, somebody gave me the spark notes of what this Jones character had to say. I know that they were pulling up clips of him bashing his own teammates, pretty much, right?
Yeah, he's been acting erratically on social media for a while, and they pretty much sent him home at the start of camp and ended up waiving him midway through his rookie deal here.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on. He's
Yeah,
been on
he needs
IG
help.
Live, sweating profusely and acting pretty wild. Beyond that, I
So,
really don't
it's
know.
Talking about
Chan-
Chandler Jones,
The
or are we
Chandler
talking
Jones
about?
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
that's
is-
usually not a good like direction to trend in. Like anytime you find yourself on IG Live, like hit that
Yeah,
X,
IG
hit that X
Live
button.
hasn't produced many positive
No.
news stories.
No,
Nope.
hit that X button.
I'm just gonna say whatever.
When things get to that, let's just go live with it on Instagram. Like,
what's the worst that can happen? I'm just gonna let it fly. No
Yeah.
script. Let's go.
yeah.
I'm feeling
Agents
some
are
stuff.
like calling and everything. Like,
That's why John got on IG. He's just worried
Yeah.
about
John on
Bobby's
IG would-
going live.
John on IG would be like, "Is this thing on? Are we on here? Are we live?"
I skipped everything. I skipped IG. I
That's
didn't
true.
even bother.
Jump to the
I was so late to IG. It wasn't cool. It was no longer cool before I could
Yeah.
even get there.
It's circling back to Facebook now. That's how late you are to the game.
I know. I
No,
don't
it's
have
actually
that.
not. Facebook is horrific.
I don't have that.
Shout out Zuckerberg if you're watching.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the game. I know we're gonna do a couple of
let's
things.
just get the game over.
What are you
with.
guys
What-
hot on? Preseason
Let
storylines.
me start.
What are you hot on?
Bobby, big game.
I want to
over here.
know.
Bobby. Take it
Have
easy,
we-
buddy.
I haven't even given my Drew Holiday thoughts yet.
So because we've been absent, we'll kind of look at all three games a little bit. What we've seen, early snapshot of the team. Obviously we've only gotten 2 games of the new guys, which is cool. You've gotten to see Porzingis and Holiday, Porzy, Millsy,
In honor of this Bruins opening night, we'll call him Porzy.
or Tito's retirement. Millsy,
Oh, yeah.
Porzy,
Man,
Halsey-
Tito's
Halsey.
retiring.
yeah.
End of an era.
But
needed
we'll
to,
talk a little
brother.
bit about that. What's impressed us so far. I think what's fascinating, and I know Bobby's going to love this talk, is kind of deep bench stuff. It's almost like Vegas League. What's real and what's not real. It's hard to say
Right.
because it's preseason and you don't really know based on the competition they're going off of. But you can tell based on who they're giving looks to, who has a shot to crack the rotation and play. Whether it's Banton, Svi, obviously Brissett. And you're seeing who's playing behind those guys. And obviously Jordan Walsh still has a little bit of catching up to do. And you could see how far down, JD Davison might as well have just a seat in Portland rather than on the end of the bench because he's so far down the depth chart here. But you can kind of see it taking shape in terms of what they want to do. I think you're starting to see like Hauser and Pritchard are going to play because they have to. And I think that that's probably a good thing and something we decided. There's some sort of competition now. Bobby's boy Cornette getting pressed by Keita for that third big sort of spot
Yeah, the fans aren't happy with Cornette so far, and
because he's Cornette. It's
What
not,
aren't they?
he just-
What aren't they happy with? What,
he's
what are they
always been
expecting?
the same guy.
yeah, Matt,
You're
he's not
supposed to.
he's
you
scoring
shouldn't
30
be
and
high.
10.
You shouldn't be high or low on Cornette. Okay, both you and the fans should learn that.
We've said it here a million times. If he can give you 8 to 10 solid minutes, that's a win. The only concern here with the center position, I guess we can start there, is if Horford or Porzingis go down, which is the position you put yourself in by trading Rob here. Everybody's concerned annually with Horford's health and conditioning and whatever, which is weird to me because the last 2 years he's been pretty reliable. He's been their most reliable center the last couple of years here. So you do go in your 37-year-old season with some concern that it could tail down or there could be some sort of injury situation there. But the past 2 years, other than him tailing off late last postseason, don't speak to that for me. Porzingis, the injuries there are obvious, but I think you were in a spot this year where if he got hurt anyway, given the trade you made, you were going to be in trouble. So everyone wants you say this all the time, John. You want to have everything. You want to have the best backup center. You want to have the best backup point guard. You want depth out the door. But you decided you were going to be a 6-man team when you made that Holiday trade. So you're going to need Luke Cornette to play 8 to 10 minutes and be solid.
Maybe. The problem is the Celtics have talls, but they have talls, but no bigs. You know what I mean? Is that nobody plays like a big, really. So they don't have rim protectors, even though they've got two guys over 7'2".
Luke protects the rim pretty well.
Cornet, he doesn't go strong. He can get bodied a little bit. But he can't rebound. He doesn't really do what you want. If you have a big who goes and just does big person things, defend the paint, grab some rebounds, and that's that. You served your purpose. I needed somebody large to do large person
more like
things.
Physical, right?
Yeah,
like you're looking for a physical presence down there.
Yeah.
Cornet can like do the things. He's 7 feet, but like he's like kind of exactly. He's just kind of like Prince and it's like almost like a 7-foot cat sometimes.
Joe's been pretty complimentary of him so far,
which
for
would
what
be
it's
pretty
worth.
Dangerous, actually. So maybe that was a bad comparison.
Yeah. Now, Keita, he surprised me a little bit just watching him in person in New York. Moves fairly well for his size. I mean, he's 7 foot 250. He's a big body. So you're worried about him being plodding and kind of stuck in the paint. He's raw still. I mean, he's on the younger side, mostly played in the G League last year.
7 feet 250.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like what I've seen so far from him, but again, John, what's real, what's not? He looks great in the summer league every year, and then the Kings wouldn't play him. So
we're already on the we're already a little bit deep on the B-sides here. So let's talk about some of the headlines. 2 games. I think what stands out, certainly for me, right out of the gate, is
3 games.
Well, the
it's
two
Pritchard,
games
right?
The 2 games we've seen everybody. No. It's Porzingis.
Thank you.
And absolutely, Pritchard's going to get talked about. But Porzingis, for a couple of reasons, I think he's been lost in obscurity for a couple of years. No one's really paid attention to him. He was the
100%.
He was the unicorn when he came in, and the big next thing, and all of this stuff. And it was like, I mean, he was like a top 5 NBA asset for a little bit. You know, like he was so like, oh my goodness, what he could be. And obviously injuries and bad, not in the right situations, X, Y, and Z. He just disappears, and all of a sudden he just sneaks up on everybody out of Washington and has an all-star caliber year last year and plays really, really well. And as people are like, oh, he's good. He's good at basketball. Weird. And so like now you've seen a couple of games and you're like, I get it. Like, that's right. He can score from a million different places. And like, that's the thing. I think that's the most impressive thing is Porzingis can do things that it just changes the dynamic on offense because it's not one thing. It's not give the ball to Tatum and get out of the way. He can score from every level and do different things right off the bat. What did you see? First couple of minutes of the game, you catch him on a roll on an alley-oop and he just goes flying through the air on that.
Yeah.
And then what does he do? He hits a friggin', 27-foot 3-pointer top of the key as well. Like you just got to see, and then he blocks a shot.
His shot's something, isn't it?
You get to see the whole package, and it's really it's impressive. I mean, obviously he had a great debut, but again, even in limited action tonight, it just jumps out like, oh, this guy's different, like totally different than anything they've had, but also different just on an NBA scale. He can just do a lot of things.
And we've talked about that gravitas, the real moment of him being introduced, him coming in the first place, that pedigree he entered the league with, and what he did early on in his career. It was their biggest addition since Kyrie. And our commenters have talked about a little bit too, the power of adding this quality of a big man, an all-star level guy, a guy who can change the game at that position. They haven't had that in a long time. You're going back to Garnett at that position, who can do this many things at that spot. So it blew me away on Sunday. The crowd at the Garden, they were amped up. They were in there. The place was packed. And first play of the game, Tatum finds him, and he just flicks his wrist. Boom, nothing but net. His shot blows me away when you see it in person. It's so quick. It's so concise. It's consistent. And you just know if you're going to get him a lot of attempts from behind the three-point arc, and I know we look at the three-point totals with Missoula and go, but this is actually the kind of guy you want taking 8 to 10 threes a game because he's so good. It's just going to make him score that much more. It's going to make him that much more efficient. And you do want some diversity to his game too, but I've been impressed with the early returns. I had some skepticism about this trade, and you're always worried. There was even a moment in that first game, John, where he kind of bumped knees or just bumped into a guy and went down to the ground, and you're like,
every time he goes up, you're
every
worried.
time that happens now, you're going to worry, but when he's fresh, and man, does he look good. Man, does he look healthy right now. And man, does he look confident in his own body, that young, skinny, kind of awkward presence out there. And now it just looks like he has this real demeanor to him on the floor.
Yeah. Jimmy?
I'm going to give my response with an answer to this question. And the answer is yes. Question is the KP dynamic better than smart hustling for an out of bounds ball? Roland, the answer is yes. If you're if that's sarcasm, then you got me. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna repeat everything you guys just said about him. I think him being drafted by the Knicks was just a tough break for him, right? He's under the spotlight in New York. He gets the injury tag labeled to him, and then he kind of disappears into obscurity for a bit.
The Mavs aren't a great organization either.
Mavs, I mean, I don't know I think they're a solid organization, but maybe it just wasn't the right destination for him, right? And now he's on a team with options. My only concern, and it's not even a concern, it's just like, I hope this doesn't happen, is that he's not able to be as aggressive as maybe we want him to be, because he's going to maybe see himself as like the fourth option on this team now, right? With Holiday jumping on. What I really hope happens is that, and I saw a little bit tonight, is okay, good, Roland. I'm glad to hear that was sarcasm. But what I want to see is like those lobs. Like, we always talked about the lobs to Rob that we wanted to see more of. I thought Holiday was looking at Porzingis a little bit tonight. I was away for game one, so I didn't get to see that. And I don't think Holiday even played game one, right? So
I thought they had great. I think there was a great vibe. White
that's kind of
White was finding people. Holiday, distributing. I actually liked that. I thought the ball movement in that first quarter when they put up 35.
Right, but don't forget, John, that was without Tatum.
This is a great stat too on him.
Yeah, I mean, those guys change the dynamic, and all of a sudden the ball starts stopping. Honestly, I'm going to get into it, but my greatest concern with this team is how Tatum and Brown play with good players. That's kind of. Can they understand? I don't have to score all the time. Are they just going to take the ball and slow it down and dribble the air out of it and take?
Jalen had a sloppy debut.
I don't think Holiday's going to allow it. I really don't. I think it's one of the great things of getting Holiday on this team. He's more of that
I hope
move the ball point guard. Move the ball, keep everything in motion, play hard, play fast. He's going to look at other guys. He's not coming onto the team with playing favorites or playing buddy basketball. He's the new guy. He's going to put his guys in position and give it to I hope, give it to the player in the best chance to succeed in that play. And there are a lot of options, all the way down to Horford in the corner, where I'm sure he'll be. So the ball just can't stick, John, to your point. It absolutely cannot end up in Jaylen Brown's hands where he just dribbles it, and then turns it over or something like that. That can't happen this year. It shouldn't happen this year. There's too many. And when they move the ball, going back the last few seasons, every time those games that have been where they're moving the ball around and getting out in the break, that's when they're winning handedly.
We say that every year, and we always wonder where it goes. But this is a great stat on Porzingis that Jay King put out there. He had 8 free throw attempts in that first game, which was 3 more than any Celtics center had in a game all year, and then 6 tonight, of course.
And then 6 tonight, yep.
So there was a nice play. We've talked about the increase of his post-up game, the improvement, rather. He talked on media day, I had to look at the mirror. I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at my production before last year, and I was like, what the hell? This is terrible. And he did have some of the worst post-up numbers in the league. There was one really good play tonight where he's in transition on a small guy. Might have been Maxey. They throw him the ball, and he really didn't have good position in there. He really didn't have a good shot to take, but he turned and just bodied him and drew a foul, and he doesn't make the shot, and he really didn't have a great look in there. But, there's a little guy on him, and he catches the ball, and the guy's just like, all right, I'm just going to foul him. So the aggression and the intention in that spot is a game changer for this team too. And Joe has embraced it in all the talks so far. We're going to have posting up. We're going to have mid-range shots late in games. Why? Because the personnel. We're still going to have a ton of threes because the numbers and all the rest, but we have different kind of personnel this year. So we're going to play a little bit differently, and we'll see if that actually pans out, to your point, Jimmy, with the movement and everything else, because when it's mattered, they've gone back to old habits and staleness that blows our minds every time, because they really do start playing well early in the seasons. The emphasis are set, they execute them, and they're humming. And that's what we've seen so far in this preseason, and I'm sure it's what we'll see to start the year. But in May, in June, what are we going to see? That's the question ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna like just sit here and wait for June. I like this roster. I know that it's a little bit thin, but and it always comes down to health, doesn't it? So we can sit here and say, oh, they got to be healthy. Well, every team and every fan base is saying that right now.
Well, they've been on that too. They can't get to the end of the year and say, oh, Porzingis was hurt. What are we gonna do?
Right, but no team can say, oh, like we're fine. We'll be fine we'll be fine if we get injured. Like no team's saying that. So the Celtics are in the same boat as everybody else. What?
I gotta tip my hat to Duran here. Posted a comment similar to this. Didn't make the chat. The guy reaches into his pocket, throws $4.99 out there, bang. A little bit later,
I didn't see it.
I was gonna reference it, but thank you anyway, Duran. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, obviously Tatum's Tatum. I do think Jalen is a thing, but I'm not starting the preseason by like, I'm really concerned about Jaylen Brown. I'm just curious because I do think like, I think the dynamic here has always been like, yeah, obviously Jalen's incredibly talented. And obviously because, of just how the rosters were constructed in the past few years, he had to carry a heavy load and a heavy burden to score. He was really the only other option to score in terms of people who could create their own shot. You have others now. And now the question is, can Jalen do other things to impact the game when the burden isn't necessarily on him to score as much? I'm curious how he integrates himself into that because as we've seen with just a single player, what's up, Jimmy?
Just reading a comment.
As we've seen with a single player on the floor, Tatum, sometimes Brown would disappear just because Tatum would be doing too much. What happens if KP's cooking a little bit and Tatum's on the floor and Holiday's doing his thing? Is Jalen just going to be like, I'm standing here in the corner and nobody likes me? And like, I hope not.
No,
I hope not.
I mean,
I want to see him be active.
He got a lot of money to not do that.
So. I want to see it be really democratic. I just mean not because he's sulking, more because like, well, usually I kind of get the ball in these spots and then I get to cook a little bit too. Is it going to be my ball 4 ways, or is it going to be a different style? And that's what you were saying, Bobby. Joe's saying we're going to embrace the personnel. Personnel's going to call for a much more diversified offensive, mentality, especially when all the big dogs are on the floor.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, you need to trust these guys and their skill sets and get out of the way or move off the ball at times after giving it up. You got to commit to some of the things we saw them do tonight with Brown and Tatum off the floor. This team, they have a pretty good system and idea of what they want to do offensively. As much as we bemoaned all the threes last year, they finished with one of the best offenses of all time, most efficient rather. So even when all the starters would sit, you'd see the Pritchards and Cornets of the world going toe-to-toe with the Bucks. They have a good system. They have a good idea of how to run offense here, and the two best players have to buy into it consistently, especially since they're probably going to be the ball handlers more often than not. I've talked to both Brown and Tatum so far, and I've said, you guys going to defer to Drew a little bit now that he's here? And Tatum said, yeah, he's a good ball handler, we'll do that. And Brown was like, yeah, it'll probably be pretty similar to Smart. So not full commitment from either of them.
No, it's not.
Not full commitment to either of them to letting him run every possession and be that ball-dominant point guard. Ugh. But they'll see how it goes.
Did you follow up asking if either of one of them wanted to be captain?
Yeah.
There's great leadership there.
Yeah, what's up with that? No captain again this year, huh?
That's fine. Anyway, let me throw this out here real quick, and we'll get moving. We want to let you know, of course, about our exclusive wagering partner here at the CLNS Media Network, and that, of course, is Fanduel Sportsbook. Head over to fanduel.com/Boston. Take advantage of a special deal here. You've got, obviously, the NFL in full swing. Here's a tip. Patriots, bet the under.
Just bet the other team.
If they bet the other team, bet the under. If the over-under was 12, I would have taken the under for this weekend. But go to fanduel.com/Boston. Deposit 10, bet 5. You get 200 in bonus bets when you sign up. Once again, 200 in bonus bets. It's non-refundable bonus bucks.
I hit a great bet on FanDuel a couple of days ago.
You did?
I did.
Anyway, hold on. These expire. The bonus bets expire. Check fanduel.com. fanduel.com/sportsbook for full details. Any sort of issues here, of course, gambling helpline here, gamblinghelplinema.org, or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. Go to gamesma.com or call 1-800-GM1234. Once again, it is fanduel.com/Boston. Go through that URL if you want to sign up. We want to also tell you about one other thing, and that's Odds Are. You guys know what Odds Are is, right? Odds Are is amazing.
Yeah,
Odds Are is amazing. You ever wish you could navigate the betting field better? And again, the easiest thing to do is just bet against the Patriots. But if you want to go beyond that and with confidence, go to Odds Are. It's not a sports book, but it's a sports betting advisor. They don't take your bet. They make you better at it. Odds Are uses AI and machine learning to suggest smart sports bets, like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. All you have to do is download the app. That's the important thing. Download that app. Sign up for the account. Latest data analysis guide gets you through the point spreads, money lines, all that stuff. Green means go. Smart bet. Yellow, figure it out. Red, don't do it. And I've been loving it since.
Don't do it.
I always feel bets are red.
Red.
Without me knowing it.
Check it out. It's a really smart, kind of like, pal to help you here with your betting rather than just winging it and being like, I got killed in the 1 o'clocks. What am I going to do it for?
Yeah.
And then you really load up on the Sunday night and try to make it all back on Monday. And don't do that. Check out Odds Are. Elevate your game. Smart betting revolution. Go to oddsr.com/Celtics. Oddsr.com/Celtics. 30 days free. So if you're going to sign up for FanDuel, stands to reason you should pair it with Odds Are as well. We're going to bring in Sherrod Blakely here, who always makes the smart bet. Joining the Guard Report.
He is a smart bet.
Sherrod,
we talked on Sherrod.
We've already done Cornet Cada, so you're not going to be able to sign in to jump in on that.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I always wanted to talk about Luke off the top of the show. I always want to talk about Luke.
I'm just giving the commenters what they want. They've been hot on him.
Yeah, they've been hot on him, all right.
Sherrod, impressions for tonight's game. We were just talking a bit about Porzingis and just how it just gives him such a kind of diverse offensive.
Gives us tingly feelings.
Yeah, just he can do so many different things offensively. It really changes the dynamic.
It does, but you know what? I'm paying more attention to what he's doing at the defensive end of the floor, and I've been pleasantly surprised at what I've seen. There was a sequence in the second quarter where he did what I think they need him to do all the time, and that's contest shots. He contested a shot. They got the rebound. They got out in transition. Al Horford with the finish from the Derek White layup. Things like that. You look at Al finishing and Derek's pass, but it was Porzingis contesting a shot around the basket, which you should be able to do if you're 7'3". Those are the things that to me are going to give him the greatest amount of impact for this team, because we all know he can go and get buckets. That's a given. We know that is in his DNA, but can he give them something at the defensive end and not be a significant liability? And the more I watch him play, the more I don't think, by no means is he an all NBA defender, but he doesn't suck nearly as much as he did 3, 4, 5 years ago.
You haven't been high on his defense, John, at least coming in, projecting into this.
Oh, he had a good year last year defensively. I thought it was his best year as a defender, but was that just kind of a, the broken clock is right twice a year type of thing, or whether he turned a corner? And so far, it looks as though he is an adequate defender, not an elite defender, but he's adequate. And that's what you needed from him. Yeah,
he contests a lot of shots, especially in that first game. It felt like Paul Reed went like 1 for 8 against him out of the gate, 3 for 8 at best. Similar story tonight. You're not seeing him beat on the other side, so you're not getting the full effect of competition here. But all you can do is play who's in front of you, and he's been active around the rim. They're scheming him well. They're keeping him back. Joe has told me they want him switching out sometimes. They want him playing higher at times because I think Joe wants to go small ultimately when it matters, so he's going to have to do those things. That's where you have some questions about him without Rob. But to start games, and we'll have to get to this conversation eventually too, him and Horford out there could be wrecking balls defensively. I mean, they both go up with the double block on Tobias Harris.
And that's enough, Bobby, for the night, everybody.
I think that's how they're going to start this. I think they're going to start those two together. I think it gives them a lot of enticing possibilities defensively. And I think it's what Brad wants at the top. He keeps talking. We were at our best when we were double big over the last couple of years. So it does make for a tough conversation about who you want to send to the bench.
No, it doesn't. And honestly, I'm so baffled by this. And if it is real,
That's how they've started both these games.
but I can't believe it's real.
They started Holiday on the bench on one of these games.
Well, Bontemps is saying that's a real possibility.
There's
I don't believe it.
0.0.
I don't buy it
0.0.
I just think it's fake news. I'm sorry.
Derek White's gonna go. He's the one who says, "I don't care. Put me on the bench," and that's.
It doesn't matter what he says.
But that's when you're the second-year coach, Sherrod. That's how you handle the dynamic. You're like, all right, this guy's.
Here's the thing. I don't mind it this time because Porzingis isn't Rob. The reason I hated it before is you were so offensively limited with what you could do with that lineup. You were having your better defensive lineup, but just absolutely just punting on offense with Smart and Rob, and Horford obviously had a good year shooting from three. But I mean, Horford was as likely to have a 0-point game as he was to go out there and hit 3 or 4 threes. So, I mean, and he does nothing around the rim. So, I mean, it was the Tatum and Brown show. And if they were hot, great. And if JT started the night slow, you were like, well, I hope it's one of Jalen's good first quarters. I hated how they started offensively with that lineup. Porzingis is not Rob. He does give you. So, yes, you could absolutely do it, but it's certainly going to be Holiday starting, not Holiday off the bench. It's insane to think that you trade for this player and you bring them here and they are. Like, it's one thing to have Malcolm Brogdon be the sixth guy. It's another to have Holiday. Holiday's an all-star,
honestly,
one of the best defensive players. It's insane that we're having this conversation about Holiday coming off.
Well, I was just gonna say, honestly, it's not even worth the conversation. I mean,
I know. I'm sorry. I wasted my breath.
Holiday came off the bench.
We got lower third
in the first preseason game because
I had the filibuster until the lower third got in here.
I mean, the guy hadn't even had a chance to shake hands with his new teammates yet. So they said, come off the bench. You know what I mean? Like, ease your way into the game, ease your way into things. And that's the end of it. He's not coming off the bench. He's considered the best defensive player in the NBA. It would be.
So who will, Jimmy?
It's going to be White or Horford, I think, depending on like matchups, honestly. And like, that's fine. Horford should be completely fine coming. I bet you he is fine coming off the bench at this stage in his career.
I bet you he's not, truthfully.
I asked him at media day, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll let Joe decide."
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, no player. I mean, everybody has pride. Everybody wants to start. I get that, but my point is, Al Horford's not trying to give you 40 minutes a night anymore.
Right?
So
no, he doesn't want to start back-to-backs either. But
he's giving you 20. If he can give you 20-ish, 25 minutes of really good basketball, you'll take that. And if that means he's coming off the bench, and that's going to prolong his season because you guys already talked about the fact that they need to be healthy. Then they got to figure out ways to mix and match depending on matchup. So it's going to be White or Horford. This other stuff isn't even a conversation.
This one, I've said this one before, and this one I agree with. And then Sherrod, I want to hear your take. This is what I hate, and this is what I hated with Horford and Rob. If each of them was good for 24 to 25 minutes, and you play them together for 10, 12, 15 minutes a game, that means lots of Luke, lots of small ball. Without Grant Williams, you don't have a small ball 5 right now, unless it's Tatum. So, like, really at this point, like, and that's fine. I don't mind playing a lineup with, Tatum, Brown, and 3 guards. Like, I could live with that. But you really don't have very many options in terms of bigs there. I think you have to space them out because of your lack of depth. But anyway, Sherrod, go ahead.
No, I think what Joe's probably going to wind up doing is Al is going to start most of the games, but Al will be the first one to get the hook. Al will be out at the 4, 5, 6 minute mark almost every game if he's starting. And that's the way that you appease him by being with that first group, allow him to kind of get in that 20, 25 minute range over the course of the game. And frankly, play a smaller, faster, more athletic lineup, which I think Joe wants to do. To me, that's the only way Joe can come out of this and create a win-win for pretty much everyone involved. Because Derek White isn't going to bitch about coming off the bench. Al will low-key complain about it because it's clear he does not want to come off the bench.
Nope.
He doesn't do it. He's only done it 14 times in his career.
And the thing about it is,
he's older now.
Well, Jimmy, that's Jimmy. What?
I'm not saying he wants to, but at some point you got to.
But Jimmy,
sorry,
if you're Al Horford, you're thinking, okay, who's better in this first group than me right now at the big spot? Who's better? I'm playing with Porzingis. Who's next? Who should be in my spot at the big spot?
He's next. But they might not go with a double big lineup, so then he's on the bench.
How many people?
He'll
How many
have to
people
do it
not?
on some nights. There's no doubt.
How many
about
people
it.
not named LeBron start every single game in
Right.
their age 37 season?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
No, he'll
It's
have
like-
to come off the bench on some nights. There's no doubt about it.
He's going to come off the bench some nights, but most nights that he's available to play, Al will be in that starting group.
And he's still a guy who
Are you saying that
accentuates
out of
this
belief or out
lineup.
of what you're hearing, Sherrod?
That is belief, more belief than what I'm
Yeah.
hearing. Much more belief
I
than
think
what I'm
it's a
hearing.
reasonable take. Yeah.
But it just makes sense, and a lot of it just stems from the fact of just how Joe's putting these lineups together. And to Bobby's point earlier, what Al is saying when he's asked about coming off the bench, he's not singing a Derek White song about, well, I'll do whatever the team needs me to do, what's best for the team. He's saying it's Joe's call. Translation: if I'm coming off the bench, it's not because I am willing to do that. It's because I'm being told to do that.
It was a weird answer. He was like, "Yeah, that's a Joe decision, and I'm happy to be here." And Al, there was definitely that vibe from Al on media day of, "Geez, like I'm glad I'm still here. Like we really made this holiday move, and I could have been gone when this just as likely as Rob." Like I think there was definitely a lot because the rumor was floating out there for days about them going after him, and like we debated, the Rob money works. And
I mean,
the Al
could you
money
imagine
works.
how miserable Al would have been if he got shipped out to Portland? Oh my God!
Right. So
He
he was
might have
like, "I'm
retired.
glad we're past this."
He might have retired.
No, I mean he's gonna have to do it. I'd compare it to the back-to-back stuff. Every time we ask Al if he wants to sit on or back-to-backs, he's like, "No, I'm good. I'm in great shape. I can do it." And then boom, that night comes around and he sits. So I'm sure when they need to start White, and they should start White pretty regularly. The back-to-backs, Horford's not going to play. There'll be injuries. There'll be whatever else. I do worry a little bit about putting White to the bench just because of how much more comfortable and involved he played with the starters last year. But he'll still play a ton even if he comes off the bench to Sherrod.
He's still going to get 35 minutes if he wants it.
He's still going to play a lot with the starters anyway.
Right. So it's not a huge debate or topic of concern, but I do like the idea of maximizing the double big lineups just to, as everyone keeps talking about at camp so far, re-energize that defensive spirit, that defensive identity, which they've been at their best with two bigs on the floor.
Yeah, no one believes they're actually going to play defense.
I
better.
I gotta see it to believe it. I'm not buying it just yet.
It's just words for me right now. Holiday will, but the rest is words. I'll believe, the Tatum, Brown, and those guys are committing for all 82 on defense when I see it. Otherwise,
honestly, do they
it's good they're saying
need
it,
to
though.
commit to all 82? No,
it's better they're saying it than not.
At this point, I don't care what they say. They've been saying a lot of stuff for the last 2 years. How's that working out? How many banners does that raise?
They have to get it.
Just do it. Stop talking. Just do.
They need to get into the right style and mindset heading into the playoffs, and not be going backwards or being stagnant like I felt like they were last year.
Well, that's going to be a big deal this year, and there's a lot of talk about starting lineup by committee and matchup-based stuff. Sherrod and I talked about the other night, John. Not many teams do that. You kind of have your starters and you go with it. It's not who's going to start every single night. I mean, that's going to drive Joe crazy. I can already see it. But if that's what they're going to do, we're going to be walking into that pregame press every night. Like, who's starting?
Most teams have basically 3 or 4 guys who are quality starters and another guy by default. And the gap between that 4th starter and the bench is pretty damn wide. Whereas the Celtics, you can make a case for basically 6, 7 different guys who should be in that starting line.
Well, Joe has kind of set. I see Joe doing it already. He's been saying we have 7, 8, 9 starters. So he's, I think, preparing this room for, and maybe it's Horford, maybe it's whoever. You're going to have to sit on some nights. We have a lot of guys here, so be ready.
I don't think they do. It's really which one of 2 guys.
How about this?
He's just saying that.
Who's on the bench at the end of the game?
Yeah, I think it all depends with the lead, what type of lineup you're playing. Right. There you have the luxury to mix and match and pick your lineup.
No, they were pretty consistent with their lineups last year at the end of games, and we all
it was that guard spot.
No, it was either double big or it was White and Smart. It wasn't always. Sometimes Rob would come off, and it would be Rob and Smart.
It was always Smart.
It was Smart, Al, the Jays and White. I think you're right. Probably closed most.
And Brogdon ended up sitting a lot.
Yeah,
Brogdon would
always
sit
sit.
because Joe literally would forget about him and like, oh crap, I didn't put him in the fourth.
So that's the thing, John. I mean,
now
this
it's 6 minutes to
The
go.
guy that
and
had
like,
17
shit.
points in 17 minutes.
Yeah, and then he's done. Look at the
Yeah.
box score. Brogdon played 14 minutes tonight. I'm like,
we know the starting conversation doesn't really matter, but the way this roster is constructed, where you do have that one extra guy, we're going to be sitting here every night on postgame saying, should this guy have been in? Should this guy have been in?
That's
a tough spot for the coach.
It's what we do, Bobby. It's why they pay us the big bucks.
Joe's going to get that question every night, and it does shift that spotlight back to the coaching team.
Joe's a new man. He can handle those questions. I wanted to quickly say, one thing I wanted to say on the defense, because I this is how I feel about it. It's not a matter of, is it important? Will they play it? And this and that. I believe that that fans saw that defensive dominance that you had during Rob's ascension right before he got hurt, entering the playoffs 2 seasons ago, and how they kind of turned things around and had a historically good defense and, blah, 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 was something born from necessity because they just weren't good enough to do it without the defense. And they had to do it to turn themselves around. I think this team knows how good they are, and the idea that they have to go out there and put their defensive stamp on every single game sounds good, but I think they all know it. Like, I don't know, man, we got a lot of ballers here. If we just play, we'll be fine. I find it hard to believe that they'll be able to kind of do it start to finish and just commit to defense, because it's just not a necessity. That other team, that's how they pulled themselves out of the ashes. And then once they did, they're like, it's working. Just stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. But I don't think that's that's hard. Nobody wants to do that. Like you just want to just friggin' freestyle, knock down a bunch of threes, walk out of the gym with a 24-point win and sit the last 9 minutes of the fourth if you can. So that's really what they hope to do. Can they play defense? Can they lock it down? I really don't know. But that's why I think is like this notion of returning to that's gone forever. I don't think that was a moment in time and something that team needed to do. And they had the personnel to do it because you also had Rob at the peak of his, athletic powers, completely changing the game. They'll never do that again. They'll never be anywhere close to that.
Then they're not going to win.
Well, that's not true because the Denver Nuggets aren't that level of defensive team, and they won it.
Yeah, but they had one of the greatest players of all time.
I know, but they won it with smart play and terrific offensive efficiency. So I mean, again, it's like, of course you can win without that.
They just can't be horrible on defense.
They just can't be horrible.
They have to be solid.
But then they need to be exceptional offensively, and they just go in waves.
Potential.
They have that potential, but it goes in waves, and it's been easily negated. And yes, they've made a few adjustments along the perimeter of the team, along the ancillary, to have this point guard who can set guys up some and have this big man that you can really target. But it's still going to come back to Brown and Tatum. And the strength you have with those two guys is when they're locked in, when they're dialed in, they can be unbelievable defenders. And yes, they can do that on the offensive end too, but their style on that end so prone to being streaky and unreliable, and this team as a whole kind of goes how they go on offense. What I loved about what I loved about that team is when they locked in to not only, like you always say, John, the effort on that end, but also the scheme and the system they were running on that end. They were one of the best defenses of all time, and I know the numbers said that they were one of the best offenses of all time last year, but we watched all year and we're like, yeah, that's their best, I guess, but there's going to be some bad nights too.
It's not important. It's obviously important.
It's important for them.
You have to commit to it, but I just don't that full buy-in team-wide to defense. You can't have that kind of team because you're not that kind of team anymore. The guys you have coming off the bench aren't capable of playing. So
what's this team's identity going to be?
It's going to be, hopefully, a more diversified offense and then just kind of managing your defensive responsibilities. I think that's what you have to be. I don't think you can be that. If your first guys off the bench, I mean, after the big six are going to be Pritchard and Hauser, and those guys are going to be asked to play significant minutes, you're not going to be that lockdown defensive team. You're going to have guys who people are targeting. You're not going to be able to switch all the time. You're not going to be able to switch with Porzingis out there all the time either, or when you're playing double big necessarily. So So,
Right.
I mean, there's just going to be a different style, I think, here. It's maintain discipline, play smart, connected team defense, and then your offense has to carry you. That's what this team has to be.
And play your role. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone on this team has a very specific role. And there's certain guys on this team where their role is to be an above average defender. When you do that, you do your role. This team is going to be good defensively. If Drew Holiday has a pretty average year defensively, if Derek White has a pretty average year defensively, Al Horford, pretty average year defensively, this is going to be an above average defense because those guys are really good. Everyone has to understand that. To pull the Bill Belichick card, do your job.
Right.
Just do your damn job.
Yeah. Well,
They'll do it a different
easy
way,
to do your
Sam, but-
job when you have the greatest quarterback of all time, Bill Belichick. Is
There it is.
finding
He wants
that
it.
out.
He
He's
wants
finding
it.
that out.
I got Jimmy in his Tom Brady feelings, didn't I? Got him in his Tom Brady feelings.
No, what's done is done. What's done is done. Patriots fans reap what they sow.
Wow. We're going to give Jimmy his Tom Brady moment, but first we're going to tell you about, before Sherrod leaves us, because he might have to be an early exit tonight, we're going to tell him about one of his favorite products.
Oh, yeah.
And that,
The
of
meatloaf,
course, is
baby.
Hello
Get the
Fresh.
meatloaf.
What is it? Farm Fresh. It's America's #1 meal kit. First off, we got to say that right off the bat. Number one, okay?
We know that.
Everyone else is 2 or lower, okay? #1 meal kit. Farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. Over 40 recipes you can choose from every single week. It's pretty easy. They send them to you pre-portioned. You get a little menu card. You follow it. 20 minutes later, you have a restaurant quality meal at home, cheaper than eating at a restaurant, cheaper than shopping at the grocery store. No extra ingredients left over. There's a fall flavors lineup right now that includes a bunch of cool desserts like apple cider cake with caramel sauce. You can also get pulled pork nachos.
I need a
mini
pumpkin pie.
Pulled pork nachos would be good.
pumpkin
That's a fall.
cheesecake.
That's a fall.
Pumpkin cheesecake, even
meal.
better.
Pumpkin
It feels
cheesecake.
good. That was on our Thanksgiving menu. My daughter
I'm getting
and I.
excited
Pumpkin
for
cheesecake?
Thanksgiving.
Pumpkin cheesecake squares. Yeah.
Those are good.
That goes with the 10 different pies that you make.
Yeah, that was part of it too.
Yeah.
In
Hey,
addition to
by the way,
pies.
I think you promised last year, John, that you're inviting us.
I'll think about it.
I think you're right, Bobby. I think he said we are going to do a cooking show too.
We might do a Friendsgiving show.
That'd be awesome.
Friendsgiving
With
episode. Love
HelloFresh. Let's call them up. Set it up,
Yep.
HelloFresh.
But as we said,
that.
for
I'll
me
just microwave
personally,
meals.
why do I use HelloFresh? Because it's easy, it's delicious. I've got kids, I've got work, I've got school. Sherrod's got school. There's a lot going on right now, and HelloFresh makes it really, really, really easy to make sure that you're maintaining and eating real food as opposed to just reaching into the cupboard and grabbing whatever you can on the go. And it's terrific. And again, if you don't have the time to shop and to do all of the prep work, HelloFresh is the way to go. Go to HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. That's HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Use the code CLNS50, 50% off plus free
Wow.
shipping. It's a really good deal. Once again, America's #1 meal kit. And yeah, sure, why not? We'll throw this in. You can get yourself a little bit of a
Wow, I need a
Garden
shirt.
Report
Phenomenal.
t-shirt.
I got the OG shirt on right now. I need the new one. This
Yeah.
Garden Report one, yeah.
Yeah, that one's out there too. You can check that out as well. Jumping in here, let's talk about a couple more things, Celtics related preseason stuff. We talked about early on a lot about Porzingis. Jimmy, why don't you give us your holiday impressions so far? And again, he had a poor shooting night on night one, and the trolls were out there like, oh, playoff holiday, it looks like. Here we go. And so, I mean, I don't know. I feel like some people want this to fail in an odd way. And I don't fully understand it. But, Jimmy, what's your take on the guy?
Some people just like to watch the world burn, John. You wouldn't know anything
Some
about
people
that. You wouldn't know anything about that. Listen, I, as you guys all remember, we all sat here on this same exact show a couple of days before the trade actually happened, and only one of us said that they would do Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon and a couple first-round picks for Drew Holiday. Only one person on this show said it. You already know who it is. It was
It's
me.
the guy who's going to pull a muscle pat himself on the back. That's who it
Exactly. Bobby kind of said he would do it, although
I said I'd live with it.
Yeah, John claims that he would have done it, even though
I have the
show,
transcript.
Even though on the show he said,
I have the transcript. I go, it would kill me, but I could get around on it. And again,
we're gonna pull the clip at some point.
And I would.
Sherrod was a no. Josue was a no. So
and
yeah,
I will.
To say that
I've made it perfectly clear. Emotional attachment to Rob. It would kill me. I'm thrilled Holiday's here. It kills me Rob is gone. Both things can be true.
Yeah, both things can be true if you're a fence sitter and you have soft takes. Anyways, all that.
That's what I'm known for, right?
Yeah, exactly. All that to say that I am very happy with Jrue Holiday. I'm not gonna overstate the preseason performances. I didn't even get a chance to watch his first one, but tonight I just like an active. I like an active point guard. I like a guy that's gonna be up in everybody's grill. I like a guy that, and this is true. Opponents will look at the schedule, and then when they see the Celtics, they're gonna shake their head and say, "Damn it, they do not want to play against guys like Jrue Holiday." Guards shake their head in disgust. They cringe at the thought of playing against Jrue Holiday because they know it's going to be tough on them for every single minute that he's out there against them. And trading for Holiday, you do you kill a number of birds with one stone. You improve obviously on your own team, right? And then you get a player who definitely feels slighted, feels a little bit spurned by his former team, and that former team is your biggest rival. So you get a guy who's completely fair, and also you get a guy who has won a championship, and that shouldn't be understated. He knows what it takes to win. He's the only guy on this team who has ever won a championship, and now he can at least provide some of that veteran leadership that maybe it was lacking. I know Al Horford's on the team, and I know these other guys are veterans now, but Jrue Holiday is a proven winner, is a proven champion. He's a veteran in this league, and he is the arguably most respected player on the defensive side of things in the NBA. I mean, the GM survey came out, and they've called him the best on-ball defender in the NBA. I would imagine a lot of players feel the same way. So I'm ecstatic.
You heard what Lillard said when he got there. He's like, I'm not. He's like, I can play defense. I'm not Holiday. He's the best in the league.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's his reputation. He's everywhere.
He's aggressive on that.
This isn't. I hate that it's a referendum on Smart complimenting Holiday, but it's impossible to not say what one is and one isn't, because I think fans not understanding or not accepting or maybe thinking Smart was a little bit like Holiday. I mean, he's every bit the defender. Smart would have those ridiculous, like out of nowhere winning plays, but from play to play, not only is Holiday all up in your shit, he plays so smart. He's such a
heady player. He's going to get everybody going. They're going to be emotions, going to get him in the ball in the right positions. It's only a good thing for this team, but the other players have to allow him to do those things. They have to utilize him. They have to allow him to play to his strengths, which means, and I know this is going to make people die inside, less point Tatum, less point Brown. Give it to your point guard and let Tatum be Tatum and let Brown be Brown in their natural positions.
Here's the thing about that, Jimmy. For once, you're right. That absolutely.
Thank you.
But here's the thing about Jrue that I think people, when you start looking at Drew's body of work and you start looking at Marcus Smart's body of work, one thing jumps out to me more than anything else. An average year for Jrue is a career year for Marcus at both ends of the floor. And when you bring in a guy who, if he's just average, is as good or better than the guy that he's replacing, I'm feeling pretty damn good about that. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, and we talked about this before, not having Rob is there are going to be some games they're going to lose because they don't have Rob and what he does. There's no doubt about that. But you have to, in your mind, believe that you're going to win a lot more games than those losses without Rob, because of what Jrue can do, because of what Porzingis can do, and what the other guys around him do. And Jimmy, I do think they're going to allow Jrue to run the show, because even though he played with arguably the most complete player in the NBA right now in Giannis, Jokic is probably they're like 1A, 1B. You take one or the other.
Yeah,
he still was getting his numbers. He still averaged like 6+ assists damn near every season. And to do that with a guy that has such a high usage rate as Giannis and still getting those assists, it tells you.
That's a good point. Yeah, Giannis just we've said it. He's boring.
There's no way that Jrue Holiday, if he's playing usual 30+ minutes per game, should be averaging less than 7-8 assists.
Tatum, 100%.
Tatum and Brown. In fact, Jrue should be an all-star this year. They should have 3 All-Stars this year between Jalen, Tatum, and Drew.
I think you're right. I think Drew should. I would agree with you 100%. If they're winning games, it's hard to imagine that Drew Holiday's not a massive part of that on both sides of the ball. He should be averaging. I mean, he should be averaging 8+ assists. I mean, he's a good rebounding guard too. So yeah, you lose.
As long as we don't do stupid shit like Point Tatum. Yes.
Yeah, you lose some of that presence, obviously, with Rob gone. But I think I'm hoping that there's going to be an emphasis on just being more aggressive and not allowing teams to bully you inside, because you can't afford that. You really can't. Prevent teams from getting to that point. You know, play hard on ball defense at the perimeter. I think that's what they're going to be known for. Holiday and White are going to be, again, like, they're just not going to be fun teams for opponents to play. They're going to be
and they're savvy about it too. I mean, like Derek White drew this charge today. That was just a smart play. It was Maxey was in front of him, and Maxey is trying to create space. Derek just got all up in him. Maxey hits him with an elbow, offensive foul.
White was incredible tonight. 3 blocks in the first half.
Oh God, yeah. White and Holiday together in that backcourt. And again, no disrespect to Smart, but let's see it over time. You know. Well, after 15, 20 games and see if what the flashes are showing us right now. I think it's going to be better on the defensive end. I think they're going to really harass people. And again, we've seen Tatum decide to play defense. And when he does, he can be a phenomenal defensive player. I haven't seen Brown do it for years, but 2 years ago, Tatum was outstanding. And I think lapsed a little bit at times last year. There is the potential for just being really bothersome all around the perimeter and just making it really hard for people to get anywhere with that.
Their defense is going to be interesting this year.
So they have the potential to buzz, and make it,
It's not going to look like that Ime defense. I think they're going to commit to covering space more than they are.
Just because, again, you had Rob at free safety just cleaning up everything. It was, again, it's that moment in time of that player in that time. I don't think you can get that again. Let's ask outside of the big guys. And again, so far, Holiday, Porzingis, everything we've seen has been A++. Who jumps out at you right now? Who are you most impressed with?
Pritchard.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Been so
the $32 million man.
Well, he's been what you were hoping he'd be when he got an opportunity to play. I mean, he's a great example of what happens when you give a young player who shows glimpses of being really good an opportunity to play more than just here and there. His playmaking and the thing that I like about Pritchard is that his game has shown a certain evolution to it. Like before, he was just basically a guy that would knock down shots. Now he's moving without the ball, getting in position to score little floaters in the paint. He's getting dribble drive penetrations and shooting off the wrong foot, but finishing with the right hand and just doing all those little things that you were hoping that he could make an impact and be a difference maker and show growth, that he has the ability to do more than just knock down threes. Pritchard, he's been to me the big revelation so far in the preseason for the Celtics.
Yeah, you're seeing him do some different stuff too. Scal was all over the scoop play, the layup off his off foot there, going right. The touch is incredible. The creation on his 3, super effective so far. He looks stronger. He looks more poised out there and able to get to his spots. He blew by Harris too on that play, which you haven't seen from him in the past. Him blowing by defenders, the separation. He hasn't been a strength for him in the past.
That's always been something that's bugged me about his game is he can't really get away from anybody, And
you see, too, he's able to create because he can get away from guys. So he's moving defenders. There was one play, I forget who he dropped the ball off to, but the guy got fouled right away because they were overcompensating on Pritchard. But again, we're going back to what you opened the show with, John, the competition here. The depth pieces on Philly just aren't super impressive. He's cooking these guys. We know the phrase that gets thrown around all the time, John, is that 4A player. If you put Pritchard in the G League, he would probably average 40 for the season. In the NBA, he hasn't really been able to carve out a consistent role. So they need him this year. You drop Brogdon and you got White and Drew potentially starting or playing starters minutes. You're going to need at least 15 minutes of Pritchard here probably, and you need him to have a more versatile impact. He's got to defend. He can't be someone that defenses go right at. He's got to play make. He can't just be going one-on-one like he has in these games. His game's impressive. He's enormously skilled. I mean, I've loved him for a long time, even back to his college days, and he's always had a great skill set. But what he really didn't seem to get last year, John, everybody in the NBA can score 30, 40 points if they have the ball the whole game. And he was upset that he was. If you're taking 20, 30 shots, I mean, how many shots did he have tonight? But anyway, he's got to be able to play a role, because look, what he's doing right now with big minutes and big opportunities, great, but that opportunity is going to diminish here. And if he's shooting 1 for 3,
why is it going to diminish though?
Like what he's doing now?
Again, if you have 6 guys and you're going to load manage Horford a little bit too, you're going to have nights where you've got to give heavy minutes to 2 other guys on that team, and Pritchard's first in line. I mean, there's no way he's not.
It's not about minutes though. It's ball time. It's shots.
But I mean, if you're playing second unit, again, you're looking at offense. Let's just say if it's Al, with a J, as the second unit, or if it's
White with Pritchard.
White with someone. Those guys, he has his responsibility at that point is to score. They're actually, I think it's silly to put him in the game and say, be someone other than this guy who can light up the YMCA, for 92 points. Like, that's what you do. Go do that. We keep coming back to, and we're going to wrap shortly. We keep coming back to not everybody can be everything. I don't care, what Peyton Pritchard does, defense is not like you don't care, but it's like he has a role. When you're out there, you got to fill it up. When he's not scoring because he doesn't get to be himself, because he's like, well, I got to defer to these guys, he's useless. It's the same thing. Sam Hauser's not out there jacking a 3 every single time the ball touches his hands. He's useless. So what you're supposed to do.
He's useless if he's not hitting.
He's useless if he's not hitting. But
that's the thing with Pritchard, though. I mean, like, it's like
you got to look for him. He's got to shoot it.
Sure. But I think right now what we're seeing is, again, is it because it's preseason? Is it because, he's different in a little role, or he's playing differently? But the shots are falling. If you're only looking for one thing from a guy and he's not giving you that one thing, it's a bit of a quicker hook. And that's kind of been my critique with Pritchard over the last, not even with Pritchard, I guess with the Celtics. And I texted this earlier to you guys, but it's like, it's a lot of money. I understand that it's not a big percentage of the cap and all this stuff now. But still, it seems like a big number to give a guy that you really haven't counted on at all over the first, 3 years of his contract. And now it's like all of a sudden you're expecting him, or you're giving him a contract that kind of shows all this confidence in him, when it wasn't that long ago where basically did demand a trade, right? I mean, because they weren't using him, and because he didn't seem to feel that they had a role for him. So a lot has kind of changed quickly here. I'm not jumping on the Pritchard bandwagon yet because I want to see it in the regular season, but we know that he's going to be, I guess, liability in a way on the defensive end. He's not known for it. He's not really big enough to, take on a major role at defensive end. I'm sure he's going to be active and be a pest. But I think he really does need to be on that offensive end. And listen, we've all seen it. When he does get the opportunity, there's been games where he's come in off the bench and really sparked
too. You can tell. Like,
totally. You can't deny that he's worked really hard for it and that he deserves it and all this stuff. I'm just not ready yet to just assume that he's going to slide right into that role.
Do you give him that opportunity? Do you give him that role because he's shown he can do it?
Green light.
And being around the team so far, these guys, like across the board, I've talked to a number of guys about it. They're like, he is just killing people in practice. Like, he's out there to. Sam Hauser say he's out.
But
for
why
blood.
didn't they realize it? Yeah, like nothing really changed.
Does he look
summer.
a tad fitter to you, slimmer? For a short guy, I always thought he was a tad thick. He looks a little bit more svelte this year. I don't know if he's moving a little bit better. As we said, that little separation. It looks now that he's pretty confident that he's going to be able to get his shot off all the time, where it didn't always look like that before. It feels like he's like, I got it. Like, I'm going to set this guy up and I'm going to get my step back, or I'm going to get to where I want to go. And I don't think
he's probably more confident now.
Yeah.
I mean, his first game, he was going off. I mean, he was feeling it just based on the highlights that I saw on him. And he's always been a confident guy, but for whatever reason, it feels like the Celtics haven't been as confident in him.
I gotta say,
hopefully they are.
Sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
That's it. No,
I was just gonna say, I just looked up and just saw that the crowd keeps growing. So thank you guys for jumping in late. We'll keep the conversation going a little bit. We got to say bye to Sherrod. Sherrod's got a boogie. Sherrod, last thoughts before you go?
Peyton Pritchard, Pro-Am Peyton is in the building. Earn that check. Do the damn thing. And this will be the last time Jimmy will be right about anything. There we go. We're out.
I'll drink to
Sherrod's
that.
Sherrod's out. We're going to hang a little bit. Sherrod, we'll see you on the next. We got a week off between games, but we'll do another show before then.
Sounds good.
Me and Sherrod's guy, Drew Carter, there was calling him Preseason P. He added to the nickname.
Preseason P. Scalp was like, I like that.
We gotta get
clever, Drew.
Boston Pea Party is still the best.
The Boston Pea Party was special. I don't think anyone would really get it who doesn't watch the show, but
I think it could still stick.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
We need that shirt. Come on.
It was great. Glad Sherrod was here. We're gonna hang a teeny bit longer. A couple things I want to talk about. One moment in the game tonight that I thought. Oh, before we get on to this one, other players. All right, let's
Let me just rattle through them.
No. Is it real or not?
Hold on, let me get out the almanac.
Is it real or not real? Like,
so Sam Hauser's under pressure.
Real or not real? I like this segment. Real or not real? Go.
Real or not real? Like, Hauser, are you concerned that the three didn't go down with regularity, like at every single time he got an open look? I definitely think he's a bit under pressure. I also think it looks a little bit more like a balloon this year than it did last year. But maybe that's just me.
Well, he starts the preseason 3 for 16, and
yeah,
he had that stretch last year. It went on and on and on for about 2 months where he was shooting 28% from 3, and they really didn't have anywhere else to go. They just kept playing him, and then finally 2 months in, Joe took him out for 2 games, and then they went back to him, and he did heat up into the playoffs, but he didn't play in the playoffs. Remember, we were like, should they sneak Hauser in here? Could he do something? And they never went to him. So you got to.
They did, but they'd go to him for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And if he hit a 3 or 2, that was great. Maybe it would extend his run. If it didn't, it'd be like, got to get that guy out of there. And they'd give him a quick hook. It's a lot of pressure when you know if my first shot doesn't go down, I'm probably only playing 4 minutes tonight.
Right. And he doesn't have a versatile game. He did a decent job defensively last year, which was a big plus. It got him the 80 games played that he had. But you got Brissett. You got Lamar Stevens, who was a starter last year in Cleveland. You got Delano Banton, who was excellent in that New York game and really looks like he knows their system. And Joe seems to be taken to him. He played with the starters again tonight for a lot of minutes. And Mihailuk just keeps hitting shots. So at a certain point,
is Sam feeling the heat from Mihailuk right now?
He has to, because Mihailuk's got a more diversified game. I said that when they signed him. He can run a little pick and roll. He can pass a little bit.
He's a little more stout.
The rebounding, too. Do you see the putback dunk he had in one of the games?
He's a little more stout. He's a little more physical.
Yeah. He's versatile, and he can get shots off from 2 as well. So
I've been really impressed by Svi. Yeah.
He was impressive to close last year in Charlotte.
Real. John says he's real.
You're going
you
real?
Sit this one out.
So here's the thing.
I don't know if he's real, but I want him to be. I like his game so far.
He's your new Rob.
The defense, and I don't want to do the whole defense thing again, but his defense is bad. It's really bad. They were going at him in New York, and every time Help had to come over, and Quickly or whoever else was just firing into an open shooter where the help came from. So they're going to have to figure out some ways to hide him defensively, but they're doing some cool stuff, like some zones. I saw someone in the chat brought it up. They're running some different help actions. They're really shaking things up defensively this year. So can you be in a position, as you've talked about, John, to have a guy play who's really strong offensively, but you're going to have to find some ways to make it work defensively? Because that's what Miami does, right? They have a million guys who play regularly who can't defend. They just scheme it up so they can survive out there. So that might be part of the equation here as well. But Hauser's under fire. Maybe I'd say on opening night, Hauser's going to have that rotation spot. But if he starts the year cold, you have a lot of options to go to here.
Bobby, here's a question, super chat that we missed earlier. Muhammad says, I've noticed that you have used some full court press before dropping in a zone, usually after a made free throw. any thought that we will see it more this season?
I think you're gonna. You saw it almost the entirety of Summer League, so that raised some eyebrows. Like, what are they running zone for the whole Summer League? And
Yeah.
I've been asking everybody about it at camp, and they're all smiling and they're saying, "We'll see." You know? So
I love a good full court press once in a while, you know?
there's some wrinkles. I don't know. Did
Brings
you
me
guys
back.
watch? Did you guys watch the Missoula podcast with JJ Redick?
Only pieces.
So the big thing Joe talked about in it, because he was reflecting a lot on last year, and he was saying he was using like the baseball analogy. We had a fastball; it was really good, but we need a curveball, and we didn't have one.
I feel
And
like
so-
John said that.
Yeah, and
He
Joe
watches-
said
he must watch the show.
so. They're trying to find some wrinkles. Is it zone? Is it the press that he's talking about? I see them doubling a lot more aggressively. You talked about, Jimmy, how they need some turnovers. They didn't force turnovers at all last year. So they're looking for something. They have a lot of players who are really good in zone. Banton played in Toronto. Brissett played it, obviously, at Syracuse. They have a lot of long guys. Walsh even looked good in it, even though he's not getting a bunch of minutes so far. And Porzingis can obviously man the middle of a zone. I think you're going to see it. I mean, they're all really excited about it. They're all like giggling when you ask about it because they don't want to talk about it, but they're doing some stuff behind the scenes. They're trying to come up with some wrinkles, and I'm excited to see what they are.
Yeah, I love a good full court press out of like an inbounds or a
I don't know
scored
about
basket.
the press, but
Dude,
yeah.
you know, like the end of their skin, mix it up for a little bit. Patino would be happy back in the day when they did that before your time, Bobby.
Yeah.
But
It just
but yeah, they put it this way: they
speeds
have
the
the
other
ability.
team up. It gets it throws
forces
people off of the
turnovers.
rhythm.
Forces turnovers. It gets
Takes
the other
it
team
harder
annoying.
to get into your sets. Yeah, it's
anything more
it's
annoying than having a guy like biting your ankles as you're trying to dribble up the court. There's nothing more.
It's the
annoying than that.
best.
Yeah.
I love this.
I love Pritchard.
love this.
I would love Pritchard to do that. Actually.
Someone just said this in the chat too. I love the budding, and I'll throw Utah in this too, but there's like this budding pettiness or just kind of back and forth, tug and pull, especially between the Heat and the Celtics, because obviously the Heat keep throwing the Celtics off with the zone over the last couple of years, and now the Celtics are like, all right, we're going to run a zone. And the Celtics cut this guy Champagne at the end of the roster, and what do the Heat do? They pick him up immediately, and now he's in their mix. And then Utah, obviously
He'll be
Danny's
starting,
there.
scoring 16 a game probably.
That might be the difference in the end.
Right. And Danny's out there. Danny picked up Romeo. Danny picked up Joey Hauser. Like, there's a lot. And Danny was going to sign Porzingis if the Celtics didn't make that trade. Like, there's some fun, like, back and forth between those three teams now.
Good.
Yeah. Last thing, good Joe moment tonight. Banton. Early in the
I
third
don't know
quarter.
what was up with that.
So Delano Banton clearly, early in the first possession, starts the third quarter, ball goes to the ground. He does not dive for it. He kind of half rolls over on it. Okay. He did not hit the ground for the loose ball. And immediately Joe fires to the bench, gets some reserve up in his place, and he's gone. And he friggin' bites his head off.
Never to be
talking
seen again.
All the way down to the end of the bench and gets into it.
Is he the new Grant?
Next time Banton comes in the game, he's friggin' hauling ass everywhere he's going. So he reached him, and I know, like, Banton, I guess that's been part of the knock on him, that he can,
not fiery enough.
Nick Nurse couldn't stand him.
He's in and out.
Nick Nurse can't stand anything.
Yeah.
He's a
It's
crybaby.
it's inconsistent.
Isn't it weird that he's coaching the Sixers now too? But
I
yeah,
keep forgetting.
I
Yeah,
asked him
I
that
do too.
question, John, and he says, because he didn't play Delano a lot in Toronto, and the Raptors fans would be like, they never play him. But I asked about O'Shea, who obviously coached up there in Toronto, but Delano too, and he said Delano's always shown flashes. He's interesting at 6'9". I don't know if he's 6'9", but whatever.
They
And he's
said
been
on the broadcast he's 6'7" and 3/4.
Yeah, he's not
officially.
6'9". He's been a point guard for most of his 4 years. His deal's consistency. One night he's really good, and like a lot of guys and young players in the league, there's nights where he really struggles. I just thought that was some like
That's
fun
honest.
honesty from
Yeah.
Nurse. Yeah.
It's good to
Yeah.
get.
And that was just like the New York game. he was brilliant. Just all his actions, all his movement. He scores 20 points. And then
Dude,
tonight,
I was so impressed with him, particularly finishing with his left. Like he
yeah.
just, he did that 3, 4, 5 times in that game. He
And
was
tonight
able to
he
get
was
to the
just
cup.
out of it. He didn't look good
And
tonight.
so that now you saw it. And I think Joe might have seen something he didn't like earlier. Tries him out in the third, gets that first play, and he's like, "Get the," So like I like that. It's only preseason, and sure, that's fine. Like some ass kicking here and there, particularly the guys who are fighting for those last spots there. Like,
Well,
buddy,
that's it. That's just it.
you haven't
You're
earned
round
a
out this
thing.
rotation. Yeah.
You don't get to come in here and act that way. Like, you're either going to friggin' lay it out there or you're out of here, man. Like, what are we doing here? So I like that. I like that. I'm giving Joe a Tommy point for that tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
And then,
into these
at the
guys.
bottom end, it's
Yeah.
gonna be Walsh and JD and Cade up in Maine, probably. The
Yeah,
two-way guys.
but I like the idea of Banton in there as a tall point guard because it actually changes your dynamic. Of
and he
what
can
you
play like
do.
a wing. In
Because
some
he
ways
can
too.
defend. He can defend wings, but if he can run the point at times, with other units, it's a nice luxury to have to be able to have, somebody of that size in there because you can play different lineups there as well. You might be a little worried about Pritchard and White at the same time, and are you too small? So like I don't know, it changes the dynamic a little if he can.
Yeah.
I mean, he's certainly the fourth point guard, but it's not bad to have it.
It's going to be interesting. Do you need a shoot to get on the floor for this team? Because a lot of these guys we talk about here, they're really not shooters. So does that give Hauser and Svi the leg up off the jump just because of how important shooting is and spacing is to Joe? We'll have to see. Because Banton, there's a lot of things to like about him. I talked to him in New York. He said he showed up 8 weeks ago and really started learning the system and figuring out how to screen and all that for these guys. But he's a 27, 28% career three-point shooter. And that just might not work on this team. Brissett, again, another guy who's up and down. Lamar really struggled in Cleveland shooting. So that might give Svi and Hauser that leg up. Svi's going to be interesting. You see a lot of stuff you like, but the defense is just
flying Svi.
Yeah. Fuzzy, I'm here too. I'm trying to figure out how we can get Rob back at some point. I don't know.
I can tell you how. When he does nothing in Portland for the next 3 years.
Is it going to be like a Patriots situation?
It's free agency, and then you can just
you Jamie Collins him. You bring him. He's going to get
they
2
keep
and 3
talking about
stints back
Tice
here.
like that. Is Indiana going to give up Tice? Are they just going to let him go? Bring him back?
Well, we're going to get him back when we
That's
do
your
the
dream.
JB to Portland for draft picks, Simons and Rob deal.
Still trying to make that trade.
You dream of that's probably in the past.
Rob's
going to be interesting.
I wanted that Scoot deal, but yeah.
The early chatter around Rob, it's like, all right, Portland likes him. They're going to keep him. They're going to roll with him here. But then you hear, can another contender go for Rob and cement their lineup with him?
He's going to go to Golden State and he's going to win. He's going to win the title.
Right?
That would be something. But listen, the Celtics have in my opinion, I don't know what it says on Fanduel right now, but I think that they should be the top seed or top bet.
Do you two like this team? Just off like the early vibes, the early like the roster, everything. Do you think you're both?
I need to see them play.
I didn't like last year's team. There was just something off about them from the start that I really didn't like. And you saw them play early on, and all the threes are flying, and there's no real defensive consistency, and they're winning. But it's like, remember, John, they're 21-5, and I was like, let's see what happens when the shooting comes back to earth. And
yep,
it didn't look great the rest of the way. I still don't know how I feel about this team, first impression wise. Everything's just
it's
so
too
new.
early, Bobby.
I say one thing? One thing regarding getting Rob back. Did you guys see what happened? Yesterday he didn't play, and the rationale was that he was ramping things up. It wasn't a health thing. He's still ramping things up because he got into camp late. He got in late because of the trade. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
what do you mean? What are we talking about?
Can you imagine if we were doing that show?
This is the story of Rob.
Holiday's played twice already, and he's 33 years old. Rob's still ramping up.
Portland
Portland
fans don't
this
know.
Is why.
To play a few minutes in a preseason game? What kind of excuse is that?
Well, dude, this is exactly why I said just part ways.
It's a great point, Jimmy. Like,
because this is what you get with Rob. He's just always ramping up.
You're
what?
not
We're not
wrong.
sure.
I'm not. I'm telling you, I agree with
is.
every basketball.
But
tape.
Blazers fans will eventually
But
realize that. So they're like, wait, why isn't he
I-
playing tonight? Why is he only playing 15 minutes?
It was like trading my son. Like it's
Right.
gonna hurt me for a little while. Okay, it's
But
not
you would
because
do it. But you would trade your son.
Oh my God.
Yes.
If they didn't, Jimmy's
Of course
so right.
I would.
Yes.
Jimmy's so
If
right.
he's not
You can
meeting
have-
expectations.
You can have 2 of my daughters too, and a big dowry. You know.
Jimmy's so right. If they didn't do the,
Clip
you
that
had
on
to
it.
do, you had to do the trade.
It's been a
because-
banner night for me.
Because if they didn't do the trade, we'd
On
be
the
sitting
board.
here doing 30 minutes of, is Brogdon mad? Rob's ramping up.
Oh my God, yeah. It would be 20 minutes of John saying they had a chance to get Drew.
Drew
and
would
they
be
let
on the
him go
Heat.
and they let him go. Yeah.
He'd be on the Heat. No, he'd be
Yeah.
on the Sixers, killing them the last
Yeah.
2 games, and we'd be
Yeah.
going, "Oh my God, they didn't get this guy. They had to do it.
Yeah,
The
and
circumstances made it so."
I agree with this one. The real Rob, he died with that knee
Yeah.
injury. It was
Well,
never. It
it's
was
like-
never the same. We tried to fool ourselves. And look, as much as I loved Rob, when I was come back, I'm like, this guy doesn't look right? Like this doesn't look like Rob at all. Everyone's like, shut up, John. He dunked once, and I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
man, he's not.
See?
Yeah, he's not the same.
He
He's
showed
not
up to
moving the
camp and
same.
needed surgery.
He's not the same.
Let's not get. It's PTSD.
We're done. We're gonna wrap the show. We've gone on long enough
Well,
for
wait a
a
second.
preseason. Oh,
Well,
what do you
wait,
got?
we didn't talk about the GM survey, Bobby. What'd you have to say about that?
we can't get into that. It's too many things.
What, dude? We got
I'll
nothing
throw
else
one-
going on. We got 1,000 people on the show right now.
I'll throw one thing out
We
there.
got 5
from it.
minutes. We got 5 more minutes.
No, I'll give you a Patriots minute.
All right,
at the
Bobby, you
end.
first on the GM survey.
I'll throw one thing out there from it, which was funny. It's gonna piss the chat off. It already pissed Twitter off. Who is the most underrated acquisition of the summer? Number 1, Marcus Smart, 17%.
Ooh.
Number 2, Grant Williams,
What?
14%.
Who did they interview? It was just like,
So the word
Sarah
underrated,
GMs.
the word underrated does a lot of work here because underrated means after all the obvious good signings, what else is left? And that's what underrated means here. Okay? Because that's what you're saying is like,
Maybe.
well, certainly
Yeah.
Holiday and Porzingis are the biggest signings
right,
along
right,
with,
right.
Lillard.
along with Lillard and blah, blah, blah. Like after we get over the actual important people who are going to make impacts, what's left? And what's left is the guys that were traded for those guys. So like that's
Right.
it. And
It's
so
like you don't know ball guys. It's like, oh well,
Yeah.
actually, the real winner of that deal was the
Marcus
Grizzlies.
Smart.
So far,
What you
Grant.
don't see in this trade.
Well, Grant so far at 3 games, 36% from the field, 33
Bobby,
from 3,
These stats mean nothing.
6 and 5.
They do mean nothing, but the Grant thing, I'm telling you, man, there is no way Grant and his mouth there, along with Kyrie and whatever's going to go on in
Kyrie
his
and
head,
Grant.
there is no way
There's
that
going to be a
that
fight.
works.
We're going to hear about
Grant
it.
is going to drive them crazy over there. Like he's an acquired taste, and he's come on like he's friggin' like 2-time MVP and the captain of the USA basketball team. Like tone it down, dude. I went to Draymond's wedding or whatever. Like, dude,
Is this too? Yeah, you mentioned all the
He's
stuff.
got
He
with-
got the
He's
invite to
gotta-
the Miami party somehow. I still can't figure it out.
slow play it some.
You mentioned the Grant stuff, and that's all true, but then there's this in Memphis. Smart's got abdominal issues going on right now, and he's hoping to be ready for the start of the regular season.
Hmm.
That's a little weird too.
You strained like a
So-
strained abdominal or something.
Yeah, he came into camp with it, and he really wasn't ready to go. So I don't know the whole story there, but I've been keeping an eye on that too. So I don't know. Celtics might have made some. The thing, and I didn't love giving up Smart. I do like the Holiday deal, and I think that made everything all come together. But I also think there's something to that Game 7 loss and just the way they lost in the East Finals as a whole. It's tough to bring the band back from that, and just all the frustrations of the last couple of years here and shortcomings. they need to shake it up, and they went above and beyond in shaking this team up. Like, it is so completely unfamiliar, Jimmy, being in the gym with all these new faces and new coaches and everything else. Like, it's just a whole different world.
The coaches too, a lot of new coaches in there.
Yeah, whole new staff. So
keeping an eye on the Cassell on the sidelines at all, or what?
Cassell's been everywhere. In fact, Tatum said he's the loudest guy I've ever met, even louder than Grant. He just never stops talking. And he never leaves Tatum's side. He's next to Tatum the whole practice.
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask.
You could see him on the bench tonight.
I know what I wanted to ask. All this stuff about like Pierce being around and like what was it? Missoula said he kind of stressed. He kind of stressed that he wanted some like former Celtics to be in the arena or be in the area. I love it personally. I know John has thoughts on this. I can remember saying over the last couple of years. No, I can remember saying over the last couple of years that this Celtics have lost, like the organization has lost, like the historical aspect of being a Boston Celtic. All the players of the past were gone. When I was covering the team, you would see players from the past every single game. I'm talking about the other guys who, unfortunately, some of them have passed away. Some of them are just unable to, be in the area as much as they used to be. And then you've got the guys from the 08 team. A couple guys are around. You see Leon Poe. You see those guys around. But you never saw a lot of these big names coming through like you used to. And I felt like that really had an effect on players not understanding how special it used to be or used to feel to be a Boston Celtic and the pride that went along with that. So I'm personally glad to see Pierce hanging around a little bit more. I'm not saying I want him to turn into an assistant coach, and I'm sure that he doesn't want to be either. I know that he wouldn't probably be capable of something like that. But Pierce was a true Celtic. Say what you want about him. He loved being a Celtic. He did his thing. He came together with KG and those guys, and they showed what it meant and what it took to play winning basketball. So if any guys can learn anything from Pierce or anyone else coming through, I love that. I know that like Pierce, as the analyst, ruffles a lot of people the wrong way and is no longer doing that for a reason. But I'm always going to be a Pierce guy, like through and through. So that's my take on that. John would rather him get lost at sea.
It's not that. I'm all for it. I like it in theory, the idea of the legends. Pierce is not a serious person, and I think he's totally beclowned himself in the last few years. That like he does not carry that kind of like, oh, here he comes in here to teach. Jason Tatum can't learn a freaking thing from Paul Pierce.
I wouldn't say that. You can learn, dude. Jason Tatum.
Dude, you got to be a dog. Like
about listen, toughness.
You know what Tatum's big takeaway?
It's not, because it's not. Paul Pierce's toughness is borrowed from Kevin Garnett. Paul Pierce was not. Jason Tatum is better at this point in his career than Pierce ever was. And then KG came and completely flipped Pierce's legacy. And yes, he learned, but he learned from someone else. I don't want to hear that Paul Pierce was always that guy. Paul Pierce absolutely
wasn't always that guy.
He sacrificed so he knows about sacrifice. I think one thing he can teach, if they would listen, is you got to be less of you and more of the whole. And when you do that,
and
great things can happen.
He told Tatum, everybody on the roster matters. All the way down.
And so with that, if he'll listen to that, absolutely. But like Pierce looks like he's just in there to like, clown around.
Pierce is getting himself back in a playing shape. Pierce is in there. He's basically doing whatever the hell he wants. He's earned that. And Wick Grousbeck would probably say the same exact thing. So yeah, I understand that when Pierce walks through those doors, it's not like record scratching. The players are like, oh, there goes Paul Pierce, the greatest Celtic to ever live. But the bottom line is he is considered one of the best Celtics.
I think Pierce
for a lot of our generation.
Pierce is out of options. That's why he's here, not because he wants to necessarily. He's just like I actually
but he's still here.
I do have time on my hands. I don't really have anything to do with it.
I'm glad that's what it came to. He's back home now. Sometimes you have to. John,
look,
we were begging for this. Jimmy.
You got to experience life for a bit. You do.
Pierce
Pierce will get KG to come in for a game or two. John, Pierce still has all those connections. He's boys with Cassell. I'm sure he's got.
But I think that's fine. Here's the thing.
Yeah, it is fine. Thank you.
When I think I think you bring in KG. It's like
I've been begging for KG, but that's a little harder to do.
But
KG
I do believe that Pierce, the one thing he did. And Allen did it begrudgingly is, again, you look at the stats. each of those guys, what they were the year before that trade in 3 separate destinations, and the amount of weight that they carried, the amount of shots they took and how much they went down, like they each took 5, 6, 7 fewer shots per game to make that thing work. Their points per game averages dropped from the mid to high 20s down into the high teens, just to make it work here. And it was, one of the best teams we've ever seen. It was unbelievable what they did.
Pierce was always a tough player, dude.
And they played tough.
He was physical. He wouldn't shy away from
and
contact.
He never really tailed off. Like
he would take big shots. No, he would take big shots in big moments, and he would hit a lot of them. And dude, he had that fire. If you're in your 30s or like upper 20s or like upper 30s, like there's nothing anyone can say to you that's going to make you not like Paul Pierce. I'm sorry if you're.
I just think he's.
Just isn't.
I just think he's ridiculed.
And shame on you.
He's ridiculed himself the last couple of years. Like
you've ridiculed him. The last couple of years.
He's ridiculed himself.
He's made a couple of mistakes, I'm sure, like to take back while he's been, in sort of like post-career party mode.
It is
but
sad.
Think him coming back, it's not sad, it's life. He didn't break any laws, Bob.
No, but what's sad is that like young people, like even younger than me who really didn't see him, are gonna think, oh, that's who Paul Pierce is, the goofy guy on Twitter doing crazy stuff.
That is one. Same with Kendrick Perkins. There's a lot of people that disagree with Kendrick Perkins.
He's that crazy guy on TV.
Yeah, that's post career. Good for these guys in a way for finding something else to do after the NBA. Again. But going back to my original point, I like to see some of these former Celtics who do have, a lot of clout within the organization, who have won things.
Wasn't it funny too, John, that you did a scrum? People in the comments were like, why is he doing this like he's a player?
Dude, he's a funny dude.
That is hilarious. Man. Yeah, he's great.
He's a funny dude. I just don't know. I don't know what he's doing, if it's serious or if he's just kind of chilling. But
by the way, Eddie House brought the house
preseason
down
shit, man.
I'm saying, do you think if Paul Pierce said, I want to have a bigger role here, anybody would object? Of course not. I don't think he's here to do anything other than kind of like hang out and like wave and move on. Hey, I don't know how much effect it's going to have.
But John, how many guys in the Celtics organization have done that? Pierce is practically at that age now. They just come through, say what up to Twists, go on with their day, dap up a couple of players. Hey, text me back, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's it. He's not trying to become the GM of the team. He's just showing his face. And I guarantee you that the organization likes seeing him around. They don't want him getting on the microphone and, giving all his takes on breaking down every player on the team. But I'm sure they like seeing him around. And I think a guy like Tatum, Tatum is good in his own right. But you're never too good to learn from somebody
You can't
else.
think you're above the advice, the perspective, the lessons.
No. If he does it, it's too late.
We're going to be on Tatum and Brown this year, as we should. Like, you got all the skill in the world. You got the perfect roster. You got it all. You can't be above doing the little things. You can't be above the leadership aspects, like you said, John. Like some of the things Pierce can teach him in that respect. You can't think you've done it all at this point. And I don't think they necessarily do. I think especially last year was a wake-up call for both of them, the way it ended, that it's not just automatic. But there's a difference between back to the defense stuff, like what you're saying the right things at the mic, and actually running this team, running this organization day to day. Because there's a little bit too, when everything's going great, Jimmy.
You're laughing at.
When everything's going great, Brown and Tatum, like they're up there, they're the leaders, they got all the answers.
Take that down right now. Throw some respect on his name.
But when things go wrong, who's really taking the accountability? Who's bringing everybody together? Who's resettling the team? Like, that's where we're really going to find out what those two are made of this year in the big, big moments. And they will have them. Like, I think Milwaukee has what it takes to go toe-to-toe with them. You got Denver out west. Like, they are not, even with this deal that I do think makes them the favorites, they're not miles and miles ahead of everybody yet. I mean, we'll see, but...
Hold on. Let's just all remember, Bobby, I think you were on the show, I'm not sure. On Paul Pierce retirement night, John took it upon himself to start the show like bashing Pierce. He called him like a B+ player and said that like he was the most.
See, I can't agree with that. I agree with some of the
But
silliness.
this is who we're dealing with here. Everyone who's watching the show tonight.
John didn't have the
is a
34
grade A
jersey.
Pierce hater. He's a grade A Pierce hater.
He was a shot chucker on bad
John,
teams.
Picture John in his prime.
And then he was Paul Pierce was a scorer. He was the most talented player they'd had since Bird. There's no question about it.
You guys think Jaylen Brown has it bad? You should have seen prime John trashing prime Pierce.
But Pierce got everything that.
You don't even know the word. I don't even know some of the words.
Was flipped by one man, and that's Kevin Garnett. He rewrote. It, the storybook reads differently if KG doesn't come.
I wouldn't say he changed it. I wouldn't say he changed it like 180, but yeah, he
completely.
Championship.
Paul Pierce is not mentioned as a great, as anything other than a guy who could score points if KG doesn't come here. He rewrote it and he redefined
my
it.
generation, he was.
I get what you're saying, John, but he still would have been up there with the great shooters, the great scorers. Like his
absolutely
career statistics are pretty impressive.
I understand that. I'm just saying,
and he could really defend too.
I would also say, I'll say this: if you go down, LeBron James, arguably the greatest player of all time, Paul Pierce might be his number one like competitor through LeBron's prime. I would say like defender. I would say that those guys had battles. Pierce would drop 40+ on his head.
Yeah.
No question. Pierce and LeBron went at it, and
he pushed LeBron.
They went toe to toe. Absolutely, LeBron would. I guarantee you, and probably already has list Pierce in his top 3, top 5 like opponents of.
I'd be interested in hearing that.
I think his career. I think he, honest to God, would. And so, shame on you, John, for belittling Paul Pierce. We'll have Paul.
I love it.
I'll have you work.
We did.
It's definitely the angriest I've made people, for sure.
We had a brief Pierce appearance last year,
and I've made people angry before, and this might be it. This is,
it's disgusting, is what it is. Grade A hater of the year award early. Yeah, Pierce is raising the number. John's like, you weren't that good. You weren't even that good.
I mean, let's not be stupid about the LeBron stuff. What beat LeBron was a shit Cleveland team. The Celtics had all-stars everywhere, and LeBron was a single person playing with a bunch of bums. What beat LeBron every year was LeBron's teammates.
Those rosters are still something else.
They still beat the Celtics one of those years.
Brutal. Come on, guys. Be honest with yourselves. Like,
even when he was in Miami, they had battles.
Were brutal.
They had battles when they were in Miami.
Yeah.
Well, Celtics play next Tuesday. They got a while before they're back on here. So glad we had our.
And that's a ball outside.
At Castellanos, deep to left.
Yeah.
By the way,
I don't know if Bobby, we might have to suspend.
No, the chat thinks so for sure. The chat got on your side for a while, John. They'd always be like, "Where's John? We need him." That might have.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't want him. Okay. I want a clean slate. We'll start from zero.
You know what you should do? I guarantee you there is no Blazers report. You should start that and you can just talk about
our guy Sean, he's got the Rose Garden report.
What?
Oh, okay.
Shut up.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, he's got the Blazers covered. We passed Rob on to him. He's gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
We'll have to have him on as a guest when the Celtics play the Blazers.
That's not Rob doesn't come back till April, which kind of stinks.
Oh, what are we gonna do?
I hope he's healthy and still rolling at that point. Who knows if he'll even be on the team then? But we shall see.
Patriots comment and then we'll close it out.
Jimmy's Patriots minute, go.
Well, realistically, I need more like an hour, but to try to sum up where the Patriots are at right now, Patriots fans, like, this is what football really is like for like 90% of the world, and this is what it's been like. You guys, and I'm not talking about all Patriots fans, but there's a good portion of you guys that could not wait to start the rebuild process. Thought it was going to be exciting. Thought it would be fun. Thought that Belichick would be able to, turn this thing around, No. You gave up on Brady too soon. Belichick made the biggest mistake of his career. And now he's paying for it. And so are the Patriots fans. This is why 4 years ago, I denounced my fandom because I could not fathom the decision to kick Tom Brady out the door. And a lot of people forget or choose to forget the whole situation. Patriots made Brady a lame duck quarterback his final year. And at that point, it was over. He asked for a fair number. I think it was $25 million a year for 2 years, which is chump change, especially when we consider everything that he's done for this team and everything that he still could have done for this team. Kicked him out the door, disrespected him. He goes to Tampa, wins a Super Bowl right away, and you guys had absolutely no plan for life after Tom Brady. And quite frankly, still don't. There is no plan. There won't be a plan as far as I'm concerned. And I hate to say it, but the darkest days might still be ahead, as bad as things look right now. There's not a bright future when I look around this organization. And it starts at the top.
He was arrogant.
It's too bad that we're having these conversations in the middle of the year, but this is what happens to bad teams.
You never imagined it get this bad, though.
Yeah,
I
no,
did.
yes.
I did.
Yes.
I actually did. I have receipts.
Yes, I did, but not because of what Jimmy said. I agree with in retrospect,
2 years ago, they're in a
John
decent
was
spot.
fine
I was
with
fine
Brady
with Brady
gone.
because I also thought a cliff was coming. So I didn't think he had more than a year or so left.
Okay, Max.
But the not having the succession plan was
Kellerman.
the not having a succession plan was inexcusable.
Inexcusable.
So I was ready
decision.
to go to Garoppolo thinking Brady's going to fall off a cliff by 37, 38. When that didn't happen, it's like, okay, what are you going to do now? You don't have a succession plan. So at that point, you hold on. I just still thought he was going to go and fizzle. My biggest problem is simply that almost every other thing that they've done is wrong. Behind the times in terms of roster management, I've been screaming from the top of
I didn't have time in my minute.
I've been screaming from the top of my lungs on, like, how do you not understand which way the NFL has gone? Offense, get a bunch of receivers, get your quarterback, offensive line, get your weapons. Like, they just ignore all of it. And Bill keeps drafting depth pieces, on defense, swinging and missing at every single thing. I mean, they legit have the least talented roster in the NFL. And as Jimmy said, it's not just now. There's legitimately nothing to be hopeful
There's nothing coming down the
for.
pipeline.
Like,
Right.
I thought someone put this great,
the only thing
with the offense last year. It might have been Curran who wrote it. That last year they looked a lot of people are like, "O'Brien's going to change everything." I was like, "No way with these guys." So last year
You were early on that.
early, like, guys, you're way. Give me a break. But last year, I think Curran wrote it was dysfunctional. This year, it's hopeless. Like, that's what the offense looks like. There is no hope. The slow receivers can't get open ever. The quarterback can't throw the ball, more than 7 yards down the field.
The offensive line
He can't throw it outside the lines. The offensive line can't block. The running backs can't make anybody miss. They're the worst.
The running backs
They're the
can't run.
worst team in the NFL. They're the worst offense in the NFL, and it's unbelievable.
They're a laughing stock. It's depressing that it got to this point. I mean, John, Brady's the first issue, but it goes to the fact that the roster, even around Brady, you had one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you still couldn't put a decent roster around him. Then you spend all that money in free agency. Jonnu Smith, a couple,
Aguilar, whiff.
Hunter Aguilar,
Henry,
whiff.
The jaggiest jag
Henry's
of them
been
all.
average.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they go this year. Juju Smith-Schuster. What the hell? I mean, talk about useless. And I hated that signing from the start. That's TikTok boy. He's known for his TikTok dances. And you let Jacoby Myers go for the same money.
I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think about Mack either. He might just be the most average to below average guy ever. And I'm sure a lot of people thought that. But
I think the Max.
But they've not only failed to develop him, they've made him worse. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Between the coaching thing, the Myers thing,
they haven't made him better.
I think it's no secret.
And now they have a big decision to make. They're going to have to
There's no secret.
The guy or let him go.
Hal wrote it today and is like, don't Jeff Howe, Athletic, wrote, don't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like Kraft absolutely would move on from Bill if he has to. But just recounting everything that has happened over the years, particularly in regards to Mac, he wrote about it, and this was well talked about, well known. Like Bill hated Mac and he alienated him last year. He legit wanted him to fail. My low-key conspiracy theory, which is based on nothing, so don't anybody say John's saying fake news here. This is just my deep down I wonder. Like I wonder is Bill secretly trying to sabotage this guy because he can't stand him? He didn't want to draft him in the first place. He thinks he's a friggin' entitled jerk, doesn't want anything to do with him, wants him to fail. Go ahead, go win with these guys, loser. And so he can start over. And I have no idea. All I know is he clearly was irked by him last year. And then all preseason, Mac wouldn't throw Bill a friggin' bone. It was like, well, Bill O'Brien's been great. And, Bill every once in a while chimes in and talks about us with defense because that's what he knows best. Like, they don't. I think it's frosty. I don't think
unbelievable.
The only reason I don't think
he's not sabotaging himself intentionally.
Right, but I don't think he likes it. It is an unbelievably hot take, and I get your point. I think ideally he would. I don't think Bill likes quarterbacks to begin with. I mean, he gave Brady a bunch of shit for 20 years. Somehow Brady put up with it. But when it comes to Mac, I think if. Again, it goes back to having a plan B. They don't even have a plan B for Mac.
They can't bench him.
Like if you really didn't believe in Mac, like let's say Bill really doesn't like Mac or believe in Mac, go spend some money on a veteran quarterback that could come in and spot duty. If your plan is to bench Mac after every third quarter moving forward because he sucks, then don't bring in a guy who's actually worse. That's their only option. So again, what's the plan? I mean, the only hope now, John, it's sad to say, is that they end up with a top pick and they don't trade out of it because that's what they've done. I think I saw a stat. They haven't made a top 10 pick ever in Belichick's tenure.
Well, that's where it's going to come to a head.
Mostly because they've been good, but they've never traded up for one either. So they don't typically like to draft these high price.
That's where it's going to come to a head.
These talented players.
But now look at what you have.
They don't like guys who have talent or who run fast. You know?
Oh, they don't like to pay, for some reason.
So, John,
they just don't want to pay anybody with talent.
Here we are. He can't be the GM anymore. That's what it comes down to.
But
is he going to
regarding Mac? Bedard said it on the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast, which you can also get here at the CLNS Media Network. He said that if there was anybody even remotely capable of playing better than Bailey Zappi, Mac could be on the bench right now. Like he'd be benched. He'd be benched.
How does Zappi get worse?
But why not go?
But I'm saying is like they don't have the alternative, so that Bill's looking at it like, I tried the Zappi thing. He's not going to make us better. Every time the 2 games he's had in relief of him, he's just throwing the ball wildly. All preseason, he was wildly inaccurate too. I just don't
won those games last year.
They cut him. They cut him. And no one picked him up. He's useless. Yeah. He's not even back. He's not even a backup caliber backup. You know what I mean?
And then they bring in Corral. And what the hell happened there?
They tried.
But why didn't they go get a backup?
I think when camp started, Jimmy, they thought they had. The money's been spent at that point. When camp began, they're like,
"There's guys out there."
No, not anyone.
Not anymore. Now it's friggin' Carson Wentz.
But how can you misread it so poor? How can you misread it like that? How can you misread?
Because he's misread everything.
Position that's so important. I know, and he's just been getting another chance. Patriots fans and Belichick, we trust him. Belichick,
and it's funny.
This is what happens. When you don't hold your team, real quick, Bobby, I have this argument with my friends all the time. I've had it for the last few years. When you turn a blind eye to obvious issues and you let them, build up, if you don't hold the team accountable, people say, oh, like when let's say Celtics are playing like trash and we trash them. Someone's got to hold these guys accountable. When you don't, and you just say, Bill we trust, now look where that got you. You're the laughing stock of the NFL. Because everyone's just on this fairy.
No, it's fairy
right?
dust. There's nothing real. It's just it's this notion that like, well, they've always figured it out before, so they'll figure it out again. Like you let it get to the point where it got so bad it can't be fixed. They legit need a new 53. Like they're so bad everywhere.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It sucks. It sucks what happened to Judon and the cornerback.
The only player that they've drafted that they re-signed, to a deal that was Bailey. You know, like, and then they cut him 7 months later. Like they're not drafting and developing anybody of value. It's unreal how bad this is. 5 years of bad.
And
It's
think of it, John.
horrible.
If 2 years ago you had that decent season, if you really invested in that and built it out and made smart decisions off that year, that's how you get the ball rolling a little bit. And instead, like you said, they let guys go. They did the stupid coaching thing.
They had bad signings. Yeah, they had no offensive coordinator.
Hubris. We'll figure it out. I've always figured it out before.
He's gotta go.
I don't think that. Listen, all the negative stuff I'll say about Bill, I don't think that he'll get fired in the middle of the year. Do I think? Like I respect Jeff Howe, and I know that he's a great guy and a great reporter. I just find that extremely hard to believe that Bill would get fired and embarrassed in the middle of the year like that.
It's not going to happen.
I just can't picture that happening. Now, in the offseason, sure, they can word it any way they want to, and bottom line is Bill
going to
retire or be a part of the organization.
Retire.
I don't think he's going to retire. I think he wants that. I think he wants to go to another.
He wants
I think he wants that wins. Yeah, he wants a Shula thing. He still thinks.
No, but that's going to be the PR of it, Jimmy.
If it ends, no, he's not going to retire.
But I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's going to go to another team.
Mutually parting of ways, because they're going to give him the respect to not whack him. But they'll have a conversation. The conversation will be like, Bill, we got to. We got to get you some help. Duties. Can we bring in somebody and let them make the personnel decisions? Because I don't like how it's going. He accepts it or he doesn't. If he says no,
but they're going to spin it as a retirement. That's the only way you can.
He's not retiring.
He's gonna coach
Danny's retired, and now he's GM of the Jazz. Like that's how you spin it.
Okay,
that was different. This is completely.
I don't
different.
know. Anyway, it's rough. It's rough. Again, stay with us on the Pats coverage. Poor Taylor, he's going down there and he's got to watch that freaking film every week.
He's got that big smile, and he probably gets in the locker room.
I killed poor Taylor this year, sending him out on the beat here. Came in all sunny and positive about all the possibilities of what could be, and each week is like he's watching a funeral procession when he's like pouring over this film. He's like, I can't find a friggin' thing to say about this. That isn't.
It's like the video of like when you're at a wedding, and they're like, "My name is Taylor, and this is my first beer." It would be like. My name is Taylor. This is my 17th week. Patriots.
It's brutal.
It's like every U.S. president after a year on the job. You look at them and they're like,
they haven't slept.
Like
in
George
year.
W. 1 year later, looked like he was like 17 years older. Like that's what I've done to Taylor in a few weeks.
You've seen too much.
It's brutal.
I know. But hey, threw him into the fire. I will say this: it is interesting. It's still interesting. It's just. The product is painful to watch, but the drama around it.
And Taylor doesn't like the drama. He wants the X's and O's and
right. Yeah, that is the problem.
Yeah, he just wants to watch the games, you know. And the drama is terrible, but
I'm
the
just
drama
is
the story this year.
So.
It piques fan interest because it's like because this is what I've always said about fans and like the notion of like how can you be mad? Are you a real fan if you just have to cheer all the time?
Oh my God.
Okay, listen.
I've had this argument.
But it's not just that. Like these guys, this is the teams are your property as the fans. They're yours. These guys are the stewards. They're carrying the mantle now, and then they'll hand it to someone else and someone else. And so they're managing something that's yours. It's more yours than theirs. They come and go.
Yep.
They'll be gone. This is your team. And when they mismanagement and fumble it and mess it up and miss opportunities or bury your team and take away years of your prime watching enjoyment because you've messed it up so badly.
This is my prime TV.
This is my couch time.
I'm never going to be in better shape to sit on this couch.
This is my prime
and be entertained by football. Yeah. I feel like they're just ruining the best years of my prime TV watching life.
Fandom. They're killing me. They're taking it from you. And so you absolutely have a right to be mad.
Yeah. And again, this always goes back to my arguments today. They're like, oh, so what? The last 20 years of Belichick, like that means nothing to you. It's like, no, that was great. But those days are gone. And we can't just think about those days and accept this as like
I love
the new
that
normal
too.
forever.
Oh, you spoil fans. 20 years of the bet. What are
yeah.
you just gonna sit back and turn off the game that's going on now and watch the DVD and the highlights? Like what?
But it's also like, yeah, you held those teams to an extremely high bar back in the day. Now the bar is so damn low where we get fans being like, well, they kept it competitive
Moral
for
victory.
a half. It's like that's where we're at now. That's really that's how far we've fallen. Where we're like, hey, it was a fun.
Remember the
couple hours of
Dolphins game a
TV.
couple of weeks ago?
You can't even say that over the last couple of weeks of these two. These games have been so beyond bad. John, I don't even know how they could look. I never thought they would look this bad in a game. I still thought they would lose a bunch of games. But
That's
to
what I
lose
said
the way
earlier,
that
Jimmy.
they're losing, they're just completely disconnected. Like, does the offense and the defense even talk? Like, do they have any? Like, I imagine the defense hates
punted
the
on the
offense,
40.
first of all.
Down 21.
That I can't believe either. But I imagine the defense can't stand the offense because the offense is doing them no
That
favors
was also
at all.
something that was written in Howe's article today, that there's a little bit behind the scenes, like, and that stuff happens too. But it's like, dude, and on top of that, you have a guy that's just not fun. Like, it's not fun.
There's no leaders on offense,
playing
right?
here. It's not fun playing for a Bill Belichick team. What's fun is winning. It's a sacrifice. Even the guys who were here, I remember Dante Hightower, while he's under contract, was like, it's hard, man. I got to tell you, it's not for everybody. A lot of people say it's not for everybody, but you're going to go in through here and you're going to deal with this miserable crap and have people like bark at you and not let you tweet, not let you talk to the media, and not let you have a personality and tell you what you can and can't say, and not do anything that's fun on the field and play this crappy conservative brand of football and then get humiliated week in, week out. Like, nobody signed up for that.
That's the part. Yeah. The previous teams, they could bond over the miserableness of what it took to win because they were winning. So they were all in it together, right? They all understood how freaking painful and how much blood, sweat, and tears went into winning in as much as they did in New England. But now it just sucks because they're losing too. And every team hates to suck. It's not like unique to New England, but I think it just extra sucks because you're in New England and like it's never really been considered a fun atmosphere, right? Wasn't that like one of the players opposing teams said that one time? Yeah, but it's just this is an unfortunate reality that we're in right now. And again, I think it goes back to fans. Partially goes back to fans who refused to accept that things were going south. They just said, in Belichick we trust, or, we'll figure it out, or it's really not that bad. This guy can play. I see 11 wins on this team, or I see 9 wins in this team. It's like, no, none of that stuff is real life. It's all just like fandom stuff, to put it that way.
Fandom. That's pretty good.
So that's, and then here we are. And there's no fix. There's no easy fix. There's no quick fix. Honestly, their best bet, and that this isn't really what anyone wants, but they just gotta like punt the year and hope that they can draft another quarterback and that he's quarterback. This is what teams have been doing for the last 2 decades, by the way. They just lose and pray for a quarterback in the draft and then repeat. That's like what 80% of the NFL.
Teams miss, and you miss more than 50% of the time. I mean, look at the Giants right now. Like with Daniel Jones, and they re-signed that guy. Oh my God! Like you're toast. Like
they paid a lot of money to
re-sign the entire draft class outside of Trevor Lawrence in that year. I mean, Fields kind of redeemed himself a little bit recently, but 2 of those guys they determined in a year couldn't play. Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. You draft 2 and 3, we got our guy. Celebration.
That was your window.
A year later, you're like, wow, neither of these guys can play at all. And Max is turning into a third, and the jury's out on Fields. And that was like an all-time quarterback class, that was supposed to be phenomenal. So,
that does explain why Bill kind of did it the way he did too. Back to Jimmy's point of him hating quarterbacks, it's just because how can you rely on these guys? They all stink. but
that's the
they weren't
point.
able to build out
Like,
the system
I
around.
know it's like about being different, but this is how it works. You get your guy, because without your guy, you have no chance.
Yep.
And you surround him with talent, and then you build from there. Bill's like, I don't know, we'll figure it out at quarterback, receiver, and tackle, and let me draft a backup D lineman and a couple of
kicker
kickers.
and a punter.
Oh my God!
And they got rid of
anybody else would have been fired.
Quarterback, fine. Depth defensive line piece, depth hybrid safety piece, frigging series of 24-year-old interior offensive linemen, kicker.
Right.
Fired instantly. Like, what are we doing?
To the moon or to the sun.
To the moon.
And they got rid of Folk John. He was my favorite.
I know, he was exciting.
Folk is kicking ass right now.
He was the most exciting player on the team, and now he's doing it again in Tennessee.
Folk is kicking ass. So not only did they draft a kicker and then traded a kicker, they didn't need to do either of those things. Like, they could have just kept Folk and drafted.
Folk was the most exciting thing about
maybe
the
somebody
last
who could
years.
play football, like actual football.
Yeah.
But the other thing, real quick, quarterbacks just suck overall right now in the league. It's so different.
By the way,
than
their kicker has missed 50% of his kicks.
He stinks.
Yeah, he's a rookie kicker. Like, he's not supposed to be any good.
Were they trying to save a buck there? What the hell was that?
I don't know what that was.
No, I mean, Folk's 120 years old, and this guy's got a big leg. But, like, you know, it is what it is.
Who cares? Folk didn't show any signs of slowing down, and he's not. I mean, he's still going strong. Kickers can play into their 40s. I mean, you saw Vinatieri. Quarterbacks stink now, generally speaking. Like, there's just not a lot of good quarterbacks in the league.
There's a lot of problems. Offensive line play has degraded terribly, and that's making it harder for quarterbacks coming in the league.
Right, I've noticed that.
But also quarterbacks, Brady said this on his podcast a few weeks ago. He basically said it just doesn't feel like quarterbacks are as prepared as they used to be. When he was in the league, you know, let's say 10 years ago, you had Brady, you had the Mannings, you had Roethlisberger, you had Breeze, you know, you had Rivers. You could go down the line. I'm probably missing a bunch of other names, but those guys came to play, and they threw the ball all over the field. They won hell of a lot of games. Roethlisberger, they won a lot of games. They looked like they understood what was coming their way. When I watch football today, aside from Mahomes right now, I just don't see a lot of quarterbacks that seem to know what the hell's going on out there. They're using their athleticism to get themselves out of trouble. So, like Josh Allen's, well,
the college
Jackson.
It's crazy. You lost a lot of pros. Like 4 or 5 years ago, it felt like it was the golden era of quarterbacks because you still had guys like Rivers and
Big Ben, Brady, Manning.
Yeah,
even Ryan was pretty good.
Playing Breeze, playing at a very high level. So you had the old guys who were incredible quarterbacks, all of them. So you could go 15 deep, and it was like, wow, there's good quarterbacks everywhere. There's only like a handful now of you're like,
there's
okay, I trust this
even
guy.
Some of the good ones, like Russell Wilson. What happened to him? He seems to have lost it. Burrow, I don't know what the hell's going on with him. So, Hurts doesn't seem to be like, not Hurts. Fields doesn't seem to be like that level of guy.
No, I mean you're looking at Allen. I think Tua has been outstanding.
Even Allen, he's lost big games.
Even Herbert hasn't really put
Prescott
it all
has
together.
Herbert hasn't.
You're gonna put Burrow
Dak
and Herbert in that
there.
upper echelon. Watson went to shit. Fields is questionable.
Fields stinks.
And then there's just a whole bunch of average all over
You've
the place.
got Mahomes and
Lawrence is
else.
a promise of what he might be. Mahomes.
Dak was really good.
Stafford,
Dak never got there. Dak never got there. Never got there, and he never will.
It's bad. It's really bad right now. There's like 5 automatics, and maybe.
I wouldn't even say that. And
that's why there's only like 5.
They don't win none of these quarterbacks. I mean, they're not winning big games. Like Herbert can win the big game.
I agree with
Allen
this, Rob.
Can't win the big game.
Yeah,
that's it. Mahomes in the field. That's it. But there was a time, John, to your point a few minutes ago, where it was Mahomes and like 10 other guys that are now out of the league, right?
It bums me out where Lamar's at too. I really like him, and he's just up and down.
He's a running back.
He's not
these
there
guys. I don't know. And again, this Brady mentioned it, but I don't know how much of it is skill or how much of it is just preparation. There's less practices now. There's less camps in the offseason. These guys are coming in. They're getting hurt sooner. To your point earlier, John, the offensive line, these guys don't seem ready. So all these players, and maybe it was for the right reasons, they're practicing less. They're doing a lot less. And they look under. And the product, honestly, it looks like it's suffering out in the field, from the quarterbacks on down. So, yeah, the Patriots stink. And if you're a Patriots fan, all you really care about is that. But when you really look out at the rest of the league, everyone loves the 49ers and for a lot of good reasons. But after that, there's no team that I'd be scared about right now. And the league's wide open. And that's not necessarily parity to me. That just means that there's just a lot of untapped potential.
I've enjoyed watching the last year or two. It doesn't seem like a good product.
I would agree.
It's been bad. The Cam Newton year was the
baseball
worst
was
thing
good
I've ever
this
seen.
year.
Well, we don't have time for baseball. We're at the 2 hour mark.
Baseball. Yeah, that's for the next show. Somebody just said, did I miss basketball talk? Yeah, Zach. You're 2 hours
Thank
late,
God
buddy.
for the NBA.
We're 2 hours. Rewind, Zach.
Yeah. People who didn't watch live tonight are gonna like turn on the show and be like 2 hours. Like, what dumb shit did they talk about?
We do appreciate everyone who did hang out this long and listen to us ramble a little bit here. But that's it. That's it.
By the way, like I said, no games till Tuesday, but I think we got practices Friday, Saturday.
That's good because I'm taking another weekend. And I'm locked in. Then I'm locked in.
I'm taking my birthday weekend, boys.
What's your birthday? What day?
14th, Saturday.
Any plans?
I actually have a gig on Saturday. I'm playing a wedding cocktail hour in Newport on my birthday.
When's the next Hunters? I've been dying to get back to your
Hunters is October 21st. It's a Saturday afternoon.
All right, that's coming up fast. I'll be there.
Next weekend. Not this weekend, next weekend. It's a day gig, so it's a little different vibe. Bring the kids. But I have this new place that I'm playing at Friday night in East Boston. Actually, I told Jelsa, I told the big man. He said he's gonna come. He thinks he's gonna come, but he might bail on me. It's called
if it's not downstairs from his place, then no, he's not coming.
It is walkable.
If he can't take an elevator to it, he's not going.
Yeah, it's called Pazza on Porter. It's a late one, 8 to 11 p.m. So if anyone's looking for a nice Italian,
a good one.
When's that one?
Nice Italian meal this Friday.
All right.
I'm
going to hang out there until midnight because it's like my birthday.
Go see Jimmy. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, if you can, please support our sponsors. Please. It starts with FanDuel.
Yeah,
go to FanDuel.com/Boston, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Sign up now. Take advantage of this deal. $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Can't go wrong with that. Also, we want to tell you about, if you're going to do that, you might as well do, where is it? Where's my odds are?
Oddsr.com. Yeah, I'm going to get it for you.
Can't find it.
You've lost your eyesight over the summer. I don't know if people have picked up on that.
Oh, it went sooner than that.
I noticed that you can't see anymore. There you go.
Oddsr.com/Celtics. This is not a sports book. They just help you bet smarter. Sign up oddsr.com/Celtics. Go to oddsr.com/Celtics. Download that app. You get a free trial, 30-day free trial. Definitely can't go wrong. And lastly, America's #1 meal kit. That, of course, is HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Get restaurant quality meals delivered right to your home, pre-portioned ingredients, a little menu card, and all you got to do is whip it up 15, 20 minutes later, and you have a restaurant quality meal at home. No fuss, no muss, no grocery shopping, no prep work. Just get it and go. So that's it for us. We did talk basketball for a bit. We talked concerts.
I would say we did
Jimmy's
a good half.
birthday. We talked Patriots. Yeah. We covered it all. Thanks for hanging out. We'll probably do one more show this week at some point, or Bobby will have some Celtics coverage, and then we're back next week with the Celtics preseason. Did you have something, Jimmy, before we go?
There was a comment that said, you guys should do an all-nighter some night and just talk about all 4 sports. We didn't even talk about the Bruins tonight. Opening night win for the Bees.
We do plenty of all-nighters. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's true. I think the Bees are going to surprise some people this year. They're not going to run train on the league, but they're going to end up 4 or 5, I think.
I'm feeling good about the Sox this offseason, too. I think they're going to make some moves.
How can you know that? You don't know who's in charge.
Yeah, what moves are they going to make?
We know who's in charge. It's Cora. Whoever they put in there is just going to be answering to him.
That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, how are you going to hire someone who can't hire a coach?
I don't understand what they're doing right now. They're firing coaches and retaining others.
They're not doing anything.
Oh, well,
I don't understand.
Those guys need to go.
I've
never seen a worse third base coach. It was unbelievable.
Do we want Ohtani now? Showtime? Because he might be a little more
I think you try it just to get some buzz back in that building.
Oh, God.
It's risky, though. It is.
All right, we'll do this another time. Thank you guys for hanging out, watching the Garden Report. We will see you guys